Amidst the bustling life of a medieval town, brief yet commanding declarations echo from within the ancient monastery's stone walls. Eyes closed in serenity, the monk addressed everyone with calm certainty, revealing their unique talents: horseback calligraphy, fire mastery, manga artistry, and named Greel's skill as swordsmanship. The final blessing pronounced by the monk seemed to hold particular significance. Joy surged through the boy as he pumped his fists in triumph and let out a jubilant shout, instantly capturing the curiosity of the other children around him. Without warning, the monk proclaims that the young boy before him, Yos, possesses an extraordinary talent, one scarcely seen in others. Just moments ago, Grail's voice had soared above the jubilant throng. Now, frozen in confusion, he fell silent, his mouth hanging open, the lingering glow of joy still flickering in his eyes, unable to catch up with the sudden shift in fortune. Awe flickered in Yosam's eyes as he gazed up at the priest, astonishment clear in every feature. In that instant, his companion grasped the chilling reality of the unfolding nightmare. From a young age, Yos and his friend Greel dreamed of becoming adventurers together, vowing to travel side by side once their party formed. In this realm, all 10-year-olds receive a unique, fateful gift from the gods to begin their journey. On the appointed day, for the allocation of their skills, they made their way to the church, seeking the priest's guidance. Standing there, the boy attempted to recite his chosen skill out loud, his voice trembling with anticipation. Examining his tome, the monk mused that his talent deserved its extraordinary status. Its enigmatic name, Schrodinger's cat, surprised even the hero, who silently admitted he'd never seen such a peculiar power before. A surge of pride lifted Yos's chin, his face alight with delight as the words sank in. Wonder danced in his eyes. A part of him couldn't quite accept what he'd just heard. Could it truly be? Was he the one handpicked by the gods themselves? A full year slipped away since that fateful day. By 12, the boy had matured, his eyes reflecting wisdom beyond his years. Admitted to the prestigious Academy of Adventurers, he trained rigorously for 5 years before graduating as a full-fledged adventurer. Upon reaching his 18th birthday, the hero fulfilled his childhood vow at last, joining forces with his longtime friend Grail's team before descending into the depths of the dungeon. Deep in the dungeon, furious defenders awaited intruders. Armed or not, all were hardened by countless battles, burning with savage resolve, knowing for some, this coming clash would be their final stand. Goblins surged forward in a wild, relentless assault against the strangers. With practiced ease, Yost met their onslaught, his extraordinary prowess setting him apart from any ordinary fighter this world had ever seen. "Magic strike!" declared a member of the self-proclaimed team, thrusting his staff forward. At his command, an impressive surge of sorcery erupted, tossing the remaining goblins aside and ripping the very ground from beneath their scrambling feet. In a sudden fit of fury, the goblin lunged at the magician, his grip tightening fiercely around his weapon. Terror flashed across the magician's face as he instinctively raised his staff, desperately trying to shield himself from the oncoming strike. Just then, the celebrated hero leapt into action, breaking through the vicious assault and a deadly leap to snatch his companion from peril. Fury ignited within Yos, propelling him into a relentless counterattack. Clutching his sword with white-knuckled determination, he surged forward, gathering momentum before launching himself directly at his foe. After a triumphant strike, he scanned the battlefield for comrades in need, then immediately began planning a surprise attack to catch the enemy off guard. Yet one goblin, sharper than the rest, saw through the ploy. With a sly grin, he effortlessly sidestepped the perilous strike, his quiet laughter echoing through the shadows. Caught off guard, the hero desperately raised his shield, each block a struggle under survival's weight. Across the battlefield, the goblin's eyes gleamed, already savoring his anticipated victory. Greel, an adversary whose swordsmanship rivaled his own, swept onto the scene and effortlessly turned the tide. Wielding a divine blade bestowed by the gods, Greel dispatched his foe in an instant, his mastery undeniable. With a sly grin, Grail jokingly nudged his friend and asked if he'd just been messing with him. Eyes cast downward in remorse, a hesitant pause passed before he finally murmured to his childhood friend, "Forgive me." Rolling his shoulders and stretching his neck after the recent ambush, Grail admitted that, at first, he'd dismissed the whole ordeal as a trick of his mind, until reality proved otherwise. A wicked grin spread across his face as he boldly requested to put his talent on display, drawing special attention to its enigmatic name, Schrodinger's cat. Those nearby reacted with wide-eyed astonishment at the startling revelation, murmuring among themselves, "Well, well, what could possibly drive him to such an action?" Receiving only silence in response, and knowing none was likely to break it, he resolved instead to demonstrate his prowess before the squad, determined to let his actions speak where words would not. With a flourish, the hero displayed the bag in his grasp, pulling it wide open for all to see. He spun to face the onlookers, making it unmistakably clear the bag contained not a single thing. With a swift motion, he cast an incantation over the bag, declaring, "Schrodinger's cat, activate!" Without warning, the loosely knotted bag quivered, the unmistakable sound of rustling emanating clearly from inside. Without warning, a tiny kitten, Yos's beloved Meow crept from the bag, mewling plaintively and gazing about in confusion, clearly bewildered by the strange turn of events and how it ended up in this predicament. This phenomenon stems from a paradox. By Schroding your cat, it exists and doesn't exist in a sealed space. This ritual command makes the cat vanish or reappear, though this curious power has no practical use beyond that. Grail erupted in boisterous laughter. Disbelief flickered across his face at first, but when he peeked through his fingers to see his friend cradling the cat, he howled even louder, declaring with mockery that such a skill was utterly pointless. With those final words, he declared their ties severed and commanded his departure. From that moment on, he was permanently cast out from the squad, left to wander alone. Bewilderment clouded the hero's face as he turned to his friend once more, genuine confusion in his voice. The reasoning behind such a drastic decision remained completely beyond his comprehension. With determination, he told the hero their goal was to reach rank E this year, though he secretly aimed higher. Climbing from F to the rare S rank required 7 tough tiers, and as F rank beginners, even D seemed far off. Grail said their group began with 2 members and now has 5, each with a unique role, with a 6-member limit. Only group members gain experience rewards. Solo adventurers cannot share in these benefits. In the end, once everything is settled, there's no longer any reason for them to hang on to a feeble player like the protagonist, Yos. Grateful for her recent rescue, the mage firmly urged patience, explaining that Yos's skill wasn't better than Greel's. It only gave an attack bonus, and at their core, both abilities were practically worthless. At those words, the hero's companion jerked his head back, eyes flashing a silent warning to the young mage, signaling her to be quiet. Facing his unspoken rebuke, she fell silent, annoyance still simmering beneath the surface. Grail challenged the mage, skepticism in his eyes. Surely she saw the growing gap, his power rising as her talent stalled. Greater strength beckoned, but refusal meant a future bound to weakness. To prove his point, he drove his fist into the wall with such force that it punched a sizable hole through the plaster, his overwhelming presence so intense it nearly scared the magician out of his wits. Grail again called Yossi's abilities worthless, saying he only kept Yossi in the group due to their childhood bond. Smirking, Grail remarked Yossi should be grateful, as anyone else with such useless talent would have been expelled long ago. Choking back tears, Joss assured his childhood friend he fully grasped the cruel certainty of his exclusion. With heavy steps and his loyal cat shuffling beside him, he slowly made his way forward, each movement weighed down by sorrow. With sorrow shining in her eyes, the young mage reached out, her hand trembling as she urged him to stay. The injustice of his departure pressed heavily on her heart, and her voice quivered with pleading reluctance. With genuine gratitude, Grail acknowledged his friend's swift acceptance of such a grim destiny. Offering a final farewell, he bid his companion goodbye, knowing it would be their last parting. Once again, the hero found himself amidst the bustle of an urban settlement, this time taking up residence in a modest apartment within a nondescript building. With a despairing sigh, he turned his face toward the wall, sinking into his own bed. Nearby, his cat observed the scene with understanding eyes, finally choosing to curl up close, silently offering comfort in his master's darkest moment. With swift determination, he leapt onto the bed, landing squarely atop the hero. paws pressed insistently against him, a gentle purring rumbling forth in a clear plea for attention. Resolving to get a closer look at the clever little animal, the owner scooped the charming creature up and lifted it until their eyes met, studying its gaze intently. A wave of utter solitude washed over him. Seeking solace, he turned to his cherished companion, longing for even a whisper of reassurance, an answer to the relentless question gnawing at his soul. Had he truly made the right choices in days gone by? At the break of dawn, as the first golden rays spilled over the horizon, the hero and his loyal companion slipped out of the hotel's grand doors, ready to greet the fresh promise of a new day. Yesterday's sorrow had vanished from the hero's eyes, replaced by a glimmer of inspiration. A surge of determination welled up within him. This was the dawn of a new life, one brimming with thrilling adventures yet to unfold. Affectionately dubbing his furry companion Cute, he set forth on fresh adventures, the little creature offering an enthusiastic meow of approval. Suddenly, the renowned girl mage appeared, commanding the crowd's attention as she authoritatively ordered the travelers to halt. The hero, startled by the unexpected commotion behind him, spun around. At last, the girl came to a halt, breathless but triumphant, the realization dawning that she had finally reached her destination. With a playful salute, she touched her temple and declared her decision to accompany him instead, for a man like Grail could never be her choice. That, she explained, was why she had departed. Curious, the hero asked her reasons. The mage replied coldly. Grail's presence was unbearable, spoiled, foolish, self-absorbed. His unsettling gaze filled her with revulsion. Hatred welled up. I loathe him, Sansard, you hear me. Once more, she inquired if the hero truly intended to leave the city. If so, they could slip away together in a cart. She urged that they seize the opportunity and arrange for one without delay. The hero, confused by her unclear words, could only stammer, "Wait," but with unwavering enthusiasm she grasped his hand, declared, "Let new adventures begin," and eagerly led him forward into the unknown. Upon arriving at the station, the heroes studied the schedule, searching for the carriage that would whisk them away from the city and onward to their next adventure. Reminiscing about her days at the Magic Academy in Piputada, the mage expressed nostalgia and urged the hero to visit the city, famed as the City of Ruins with its legendary Fortress of the Ruins of Adventurers. Curiosity getting the better of him, Yas couldn't resist inquiring whether Piputada Magic Academy truly stood as the pinnacle of elite institutions. The very idea struck him as almost too extraordinary to believe. A bashful smile flickered across the girl's lips as she let out a soft, musical laugh, gently cradling the cat that perched contentedly on her shoulder. With a brisk clip, the hero's carriage sped away from the city, bound for fresh adventures and the promise of a new destination. With a searching gaze, the hero wondered aloud whether the girl magician harbored any regrets about leaving the last city behind to journey by his side. Looking into the hero's eyes, she said he was always first to help in trouble. His boundless kindness assured her he'd achieve greatness, and if she ever traveled the world, he'd be the only one she'd want with her. A deep blush crept over Yose's cheeks at the magician's teasing. Flustered, he managed to stammer that the girl was placing far too much faith in him. He was just about to reject the magician girl's claim when, to his surprise, the children drew nearer to the group and eagerly inquired whether any of them owned a fluffy cat. With a playful glint in her eye, the girl beckoned the younger ones closer, ready to dazzle them with a special trick she'd learned from Yos. Taking the protagonist gently by the arm, she urged him to fetch his beloved cat, Troddener. Baffled, he could only muster a hesitant question. What was happening? Once again, the girl captivated the children on the bench with her talent, transforming her hat into a prop and putting on a seamless, unforgettable show that had the kids laughing, cheering, and watching her every move in pure admiration. A buzz of bewildered chatter swept through the crowd of onlookers, each person struggling to comprehend the astonishing spectacle unfolding before their eyes. In moments, the girl magician's staff made the bouquet bloom as a tiny man emerged from her hat. Enchanted, curious onlookers rushed over, quickly forming an awed and bustling crowd. The enigmatic pair dazzled onlookers with an ever-growing array of unusual feats. Nearby, the cat expertly twirled a tiny hoop, while vibrant petals from the scattered bouquet fluttered through the air like confetti. The show stretched on until darkness draped the city. As night descended, the cab driver turned to the heroes with a grateful smile, admitting that their company had turned an ordinary ride into an unexpectedly delightful adventure. The amazing performance impressed all the train passengers, who returned to their activities in high spirits as laughter echoed and children gathered excitedly around the playful cat, spreading joy throughout the compartment. To Yo's surprise, gratitude began pouring in from all sides, the awakened skill drawing heartfelt thanks. Turning to Misha, he offered sincere praise, declaring her truly remarkable in every way. At this, the girl tilted her head, curiosity gleaming in her eyes as she wondered aloud why the hero was downplaying his own role, subtly suggesting that his contribution had been just as vital. As the journey continues, the hero senses a hidden blessing in the looming shadows. Despite uncertainty, hope and faith persist. Something wonderful surely awaits just beyond the darkness. At last, the heroes arrived in Piputot, a city aglow with promise. Their young mage, proud and familiar with the place, eagerly guided them through vibrant streets and secret spots, revealing hidden gems and key landmarks. Guiding Yos through winding streets, she revealed that the labyrinth, this twisting maze, lay at the very heart of the city. With a hint of urgency, Yus brutantly beckoned Kolomok's Meow to slip inside the bag, hoping to prevent it from vanishing amidst the tangled maze. Almost instantly, the system chimed in, announcing that Schrodinger's cat had now advanced to level 2. The heroes entered the quirky cafe by the labyrinth, eager to relax. As they enjoyed their drinks, Yosin told Misha his skill had leveled up to 2, leaving Misha genuinely surprised by the sudden progress. Excitement sparkled in the young mage's eyes as she declared the news splendid and urged them to the dungeon, insisting that seeing his abilities firsthand was far better than hearing about them, grinning, "Seeing beats hearing every time." Deep within the shadows of the dungeon, the heroes pressed onward. With practiced precision, Misha unleashed a burst of magic, her familiar strike erupting in a dazzling display, scattering their foes in a sweeping, effortless wave. After each battle, companions rely on their retriever, an advanced device that simplifies joining guilds, collecting loot from defeated monsters, and uncovering valuable info about foes, opening up endless possibilities. Yos watched the device's progress, feeling both hopeful and frustrated, soon realizing his skills had little impact. The mage girl, proudly noting her mastery of powerful magic, claimed most of the damage was her doing. Refusing to despair, the hero focused on collecting a magic crystal, the world's main currency and vital energy source, dropped by monsters and powering countless devices, making it essential to society's survival. A notification flashed. Yos' ability reached level 2, but item drop stayed a mystery until chosen. The girl found the skill overpowered and, curious, let the hero defeat the monster alone to see what surprises would emerge. Crouched in the shadows behind the wall, Yos silently braced himself for the perfect moment. In a flash, he darted out from his concealment, catching the goblin off guard and forcefully pinning it to the cold dungeon floor, rendering it helpless. Defeating the enemy brought an unexpected reward. A shimmering screen revealed a list of treasures left by the fallen goblin, each surprising the protagonist and sparking wonder at the goblin's secret stash. At last, he managed to choose the item he wanted, though the sudden appearance of unfamiliar features left him visibly shaken. Misha, brimming with excitement, insisted it was marvelous and urged him to give it another shot. With another hero vanquished, Yosei expected to claim his reward. Yet, no resources materialized. Only the countdown of his own skill's recharge silently ticked away before him. The skill needed 23 hours and 53 minutes to recharge, limiting use to once daily. Though they gained no resources this time, the heroes learned its key limitation and knew their next step: find another monster. Suddenly, an orc brandishing a menacing weapon blocked their path in the corridor. Without hesitation, Yos braced himself, ready to strike. Having defeated the orc, the hero gained access to ample resources and could choose one. He smiled, knowing his cherished quotability would soon shine again, now that his path was clear. After careful observation, the hero realized each monster type had a 24-hour cooldown, allowing him to collect rare items daily from each unique creature. Satisfied, he admitted this skill was indeed highly effective. Curiosity sparked, someone inquired whether the girl had deciphered the workings of her newfound skill. With a thoughtful nod, she responded that, up to this point, her only discovery was that the shackles yielded more gold than the goblins ever had. The adventurers started their ascent to the dungeon's next level. With a spark of enthusiasm, the young mage proposed they put his impressive skills to the test, eager to see his abilities in action, now that everyone understood his true potential. A formidable new adversary emerged before the hero. Eager anticipation sparked within him, curiosity swirling about the potential spoils awaiting his victory. Without hesitation, he charged headlong into the fray, fueled by confidence and excitement. Surprisingly, he proved even feebler than a goblin. Once the foe was vanquished, the retriever highlighted the opportunity to select resources. Among the array of choices lay the philosopher's stone itself, an option so unexpected that astonishment rendered both heroes speechless, their mouths agape in pure disbelief. Urgently, the girl urged him to seize the philosopher's stone without delay. However, Yos stared at the mysterious gem in his palm, clueless as to its true nature. With a gleam in her eye, Misha explained that this was no ordinary gem. It could easily fetch a staggering 100,000 gold coins on the market. Astonished, the hero realized the unremarkable stone was priceless. Misha caught his reaction and winked slyly. As the hero chose a new path, a skill awakened in him, granting access to incredible, ultra-rare treasures. The adventurers reached Paputada, the realm's top guild marketplace, where a clerk stared in shock at the rare gem before her, slowly realizing it might be a philosopher's stone and marveling at Yosei's incredible luck. With a warm smile, she promised the travelers she would happily purchase it for 100,000 gold coins, just as Misha had previously mentioned. Stunned by the undeniable proof unfolding before their eyes, the protagonists stood frozen. Meanwhile, the other guests glanced over with expressions twisted in envy, their gazes laced with open contempt as they witnessed the scene. Within minutes, the funds materialized in the hero's account, thanks to the retriever's efficiency. The remaining half found its way to the girl magician, swiftly dispatched to her as agreed. Eager to mark the occasion, the companions chose to revel in their shared triumph. They headed to the nearest pub, where glasses were raised high in a jubilant toast to victory. Misha recounted, with a hint of relief, that her school days had equipped her with knowledge about the philosopher's stone. Yet she couldn't help but point out once more that Joss's ability, Schrodinger's cat, stubbornly remained inactive. Despite her unease, she recognized the value of gaining a rare S-rank item daily, so Yo instructed his assistant to hunt the gray ghost every day, especially after last time's encounter produced such a prized artifact. Perhaps it was time to start calculating aloud. If they mined the philosopher's stone day in and day out, how much wealth could their partnership amass in a single year? Inspired, the young man followed suit, relying on basic arithmetic to calculate his potential gains. Multiplying 100,000 by 365 yielded a staggering sum, much greater than he had imagined. A startling idea was spoken aloud. They stood to amass 36.5 million gold in just a single year. With a hint of excitement in her voice, Misha pointed how uplifting this revelation was. It marked their first small triumph on a challenging journey. Incidentally, the girl's curiosity was piqued by her partner. With a glint in her eye, she inquired whether Yo, blessed with such an extraordinary superpower, still dreamed of becoming an adventurer. The group exchanged glances, pondering the mage girl's words. Harvesting a philosopher's stone daily meant lifelong wealth. Seeking reassurance, he looked to his loyal companion, searching his pet's face for encouragement. Tension hung in the air as the girl anxiously awaited a response. Meanwhile, the boy's eyes remained fixed on the cat, hoping for its verdict. In response, the feline simply shook its head, silently refusing. Visions of a serene, obligation-free future blossomed in the hero's mind, an existence marked by tranquility and ease. Yet, a single looming complication cast its shadow over these idyllic daydreams. Casting aside his own illusions, the hero slammed his fist onto the table and downed his drink in a single bold swallow. Eyes sparkling with excitement, the boy confessed to the girl his burning desire to remain and pursue a life of adventure. Ever since he was a child, he had dreamed of exploring distant lands and one day earning fame as a world-renowned adventurer. With a delighted exclamation, the girl declared the news to be marvelous, echoing the hero's every movement in spirited mimicry. Eagerly, she proclaimed herself ready to embrace this newfound fighting spirit and stand by her companion's side. With a jubilant cry, she declared her eagerness to join him on the path toward this enchanting dream. In her heart, she was certain that together they would embark on a bright, carefree journey filled with boundless joy. Radiant with joy, the cat purred as his master listened to him. Spirits high, the travelers eagerly discussed future adventures, their mugs clattering lively and non-stop through the air. Meanwhile, Grail sauntered into a bustling tavern, offering his signature greeting to the assembled patrons. A formidable young warrior with the gift of absolute defense, nearly invincible in battle, reclined on a sofa beside a sharpshooter famed for Hawkeye. Grail, sensing their talent, invited both to join his team. The realization hit him. If just one person joined his party, D rank would be within reach. Pride surged as he recalled boldly leaving his childhood friend, trusting Misha would soon find someone new to fill the gap. Keenly aware of his precarious situation, he adopted the persona of a courteous young gentleman, hoping to win over those around him with charm and grace. In the group, someone mentioned a rumor that a mage was already in Grail's party and questioned his request. Grail waved dismissively, explaining he'd removed her before, believing her abilities were too weak to be useful. Eyes wide with disbelief, the warrior girl cried out in protest at his outrageous ramblings. Her abrupt outburst startled her pet parrot, which launched itself skyward, squawking its clear disapproval. With a firm gesture, the sharpshooter shielded the wanderer from his partner's rage. He declared that possessing a mage wielding the mythical four elements control, a power she indeed commanded, would bring them boundless joy. A different squad member barked at the visitor to leave at once, insisting his presence would do nothing but squander their valuable time. Protesting fiercely, Grail declared that he couldn't accept such an assessment. Mastery over the four elements, he argued, was far from impressive, certainly nothing that couldn't be surpassed by greater powers in the days to come. Showing remarkable composure, unlike his impatient companion, the eagle shooter asked if he understood the skill's potential, calmly apologizing and stating they aimed to reach S rank quickly and didn't need his help. Overcome with emotion, Grail fell to his knees, his voice choked with tears as he pleaded with the gathering to hold their judgment and not rush to condemn him so quickly. Determined to capture the crowd's attention, he boldly unveiled his sword technique. As anticipation mounted, he proclaimed that once they witnessed his skill in action, everyone would be compelled to rethink their perspectives. With a quick, appraising gaze, the girl sized the boy up from head to toe, a quiet, ironic chuckle slipping from her lips at the display of such a peculiar talent. Outrage rippled through Greel, catching him off guard. The warrior girl's response was entirely beyond anything he had anticipated. A wry smile played at her lips, quickly concealed behind her hand as she questioned, ironically, if this was truly the infamous power in action. And thus, for ages now, merely a mediocre and unremarkable warrior, one destined to linger at the lowest ranks without growth or distinction. In a matter-of-fact tone, she said this skill was a rite of passage for every warrior. As she finished, a sly smile appeared. Clearly, the gods had little fondness for him. Fury surged within Grail, propelling him to his limit. Channeling every ounce of his power into a clenched fist, he readied himself to strike the girl who had dared to utter such audacious words, spitting out a harsh insult as he did. With blatant disregard for any code of honor, he struck directly at the girl's face, unaware of her impenetrable defense. Unfazed, she didn't so much as blink, her gaze radiating pure disdain. To his shock, the force of his own blow rebounded against him, leaving the girl completely unharmed. Clutching his arm in agony, he realized with horror that it was likely broken. With a scornful glance, the girl dismissed him as utterly pathetic for striking her straight across the face. That rash decision sealed his fate. Again, the warrior noted her unmatched defense as her opponent foolishly tried to strike her barehanded, prompting her wry comment on his intelligence, while the sneering sharpshooter declared they were done with him. Even the parrot couldn't resist joining in, squawking, "Blockhead!" as the others burst into laughter. Their ridicule complete, the group heartlessly cast the traveler aside. Breathless and defeated, the boy could only mumble a feeble curse, unable to muster the strength to lift himself from the floor. All around him, the tavern erupted in raucous laughter and the distant murmur of indifferent chatter. A waitress approached, concern etched across her face, and inquired if the trio had caused him any trouble. Lost in thought, he barely registered her words, his mind racing to devise a plan for this precarious moment. Frustrated, Grail replayed the day's events, astonished by Misha's real worth. He blamed Yos for his troubles and clung to bitterness, despite having been the one to cast Yos out of the squad. As laughter rose and visitors pointed, their amusement growing, the traveler, feeling the sting of their mocking stares and losing control of the situation, could only mutter a frustrated curse under his breath. A light-hearted chuckle escaped her lips as she gracefully conceded defeat. Yet determination still sparked in her eyes. Undaunted, she pressed forward toward her true objective. With a dramatic flourish, Grail flung the door open and thundered that his city business was done. Chin high and pride intact, he refused to recruit the locals, unwilling to admit he needed their help. With a wild glint in his eyes, he strode to the window, determined to believe that a radiant, joyful future lay ahead. Clinging tightly to hope, this, above all, was what truly mattered. The heroes returned to Piputada City's lively guild market, where a wide-eyed employee stared in astonishment and exclaimed, had they really brought back yet another philosopher's stone? Maintaining an air of composure, the hero simply let out a careless whistle. Outrage rippled through the crowd of onlookers, their disbelief quickly boiling over. Cries erupted, accusing the young man of nothing less than blatant, shameless trickery. With a sharp smack to her own cheek, the young mage jolted herself back to reality. A wave of embarrassment washed over her as she grasped their blunder. They'd been bringing the exact same stone to the same exchange counter for 5 consecutive days. Offhand, she admitted she hadn't considered the daily necessity of selling those stones. The risk of drawing suspicion with such frequent transactions had simply never crossed her mind. The young man wanted to reveal his power to the townsfolk for acceptance, but though the hero suggested explaining everything, Nisha warned that his unique gift should remain hidden rather than be shared openly. Confused, the young man looked to her for guidance. She calmly reminded him they'd already planned: secure weapons and armor to prepare for what was ahead. With a confident glint in her eyes, the young mage reminded them of their greatest asset, money. Armed with wealth, they could conquer any monster, for their formidable stats in attack and armor would never betray them. A brief pause followed as contemplation crossed the hero's face. Here, worth depended entirely on divine skills and cold status numbers, and with unwavering honesty, Yul voiced this harsh truth. Reflection filled the hero's mind. Though equal to Gale in level and equipment, his mastery of sword technique gave him 60 more attack points. Memories of past encounters flickered, replaying every key moment. With an absent-minded scratch at his chin, the realization struck. This skill granted Grail a formidable edge, a clear and daunting superiority in raw strength. One afternoon, the hero's martial arts teacher looked him straight in the eye and asked whether he truly believed defeat by Grail was inevitable. From a young age, the boy possessed an uncanny awareness of his own talent, so much so that he boldly requested the master's sword, eager to see its weight in his hands. With a knowing smile, the teacher declared that battles were strictly limited to wooden swords. However, for those eager to tip the scales in their favor, an alternative path existed. Stunned into silence, the boy shifted anxiously from foot to foot, his curiosity growing more intense with every passing second. Unable to contain himself any longer, he called out, demanding, "What kind of technique is this?" Smiling, the teacher explained that as his level rose, his damage would too. Hard work and determination were keys to progress, and she invited him to the next session to reveal the secrets of mastering the skill. Utter faith in Master Gria's shone in Yo's eyes as he vowed to do whatever it took to fulfill his mission. Yet unbeknownst to them, Grail happened to catch every word of their secret exchange. Visibly annoyed, Yossi's childhood friend couldn't hide their frustration over the situation. At this time, Yos began to transform, persistently challenging the teacher without backing down, while Grail quietly trained alone. Their efforts led to the first level up as predicted, but Grail clearly disapproved of this progress. Again, the boys clashed, blades singing a rival anthem. Despite the protagonist's determination, Greel's greater numbers kept him ahead, ensuring victory always stayed just beyond the protagonist's grasp. The sting of defeat surged through Yos as vivid memories surfaced, moments after another grueling match when Grail, brimming with uncontained delight, pressed him firmly to the floor, securing victory once more. Lost in contemplation, the hero simply mumbled something about equipment in reply to Misha, his quiet words serving as an unorthodox sign of agreement. At last, the travelers arrived at Murama's equipment store, nestled in the heart of the bustling city. Standing at the threshold, a courteous butler appeared, deeming it proper to extend a warm welcome to the newcomers. Hovering uncertainly by the doorway, the group drew the man's curious gaze. He guessed aloud that they must be fledgling adventurers, seeking reassurance in his assumption. Maintaining his courteous facade, he politely asked about his companion's interests, though inwardly irritated. Rookies didn't belong in such an exclusive shop, but he assumed their curiosity would soon fade and they'd leave. With a sly grin, the man presented the heroes with a budget-friendly weapon, assuring them that this choice would serve their needs perfectly. Thrilled to clutch a weapon of this caliber for the first time in all his escapades, Yos's eyes sparkled with excitement. Yet even as the thrill coursed through him, prudence prompted him to seek his partner's counsel before proceeding further. With a swift response, she dismissed his suggestion, insisting that this was not the weapon they required. Turning her attention to the shopkeeper, she requested a display of the finest armor and weaponry the store currently had to offer. With a silent nod, the butler led the group, curiosity hidden as he guessed they only wanted to see their aspirations, not buy. Still, he showed them the store's finest expensive wares, boosting attack and defense, but far beyond their means. Nisha realized that monsters dropped not just valuables but rare ores. Using these special materials in crafting could let them forge even more powerful equipment for both of them. Curious, the girl asked about his spending limit. He sheepishly admitted he had only 38 million and wondered if that was enough. She joked, "Maybe our heroes should tell the other customer, the cat's not for sale." Empty-handed, the travelers stepped out of the shop. With a quiet sigh of resignation, the girl remarked that, in the end, Joss left without making a single purchase. He confided that he could easily part with the 38 million he had painstakingly saved. Yet uncertainty gnawed at him. Would he truly desire the armor after all? Purchasing it might upend his life in ways he couldn't yet imagine. Relieved to still have Schrodinger's cat as a skill, he wondered how much longer his year-long pursuit of the elusive gray phantom would last. The question lingered, but the girl declared confidently, 1 year. 20 days later, the hero plunged back into the hunt for ghosts, still within the familiar confines of the same city. Astonishingly, in just that brief stretch of time, he had already amassed a fortune of 10 million. 10 days ago, Misha vanished with alchemy stones worth 10 million. Before leaving, she told Yasna not to worry, promised to return soon, and urged him to stay positive while she was gone. Lost in the labyrinth of his thoughts once more, Yos rested his chin on his hand, quietly pondering what compelled the girl to seek all of this. At long last, the girl reappeared, bearing the weariness of a peculiar journey. With her head bowed, Misha declared in a weary voice how utterly exhausted she was and how fiercely she longed for sleep. Seeing the hero's pet again, the girl silently scolded herself for forgetting the missing ingredient. Meow. Unsure why, she felt charm was needed and gently beckoned the cat over with a soft invitation. Cradling the alert little pet in his arms, the protagonist flashed a gentle smile and remarked that exhaustion was plainly written across her face. She really needed some rest. With a dramatic flop, she plunged face first into the pillow, nearly squashing the startled pet beside her, and called out for Yost to check the mysterious bundle already waiting on his desk. The boy nodded, accepted the package, and unfolded a document revealing that Bibutat Magic Academy, on its own authority, had granted a staggering 30 million gold loan to its outstanding graduate, Misha. With confusion clouding his eyes, The hero pressed the girl for answers once more, desperate to unravel the strange events that had befallen the young mage in recent days. In a low voice, she revealed that during this period she had secured a loan from the academy, bound by a host of stringent terms and stipulations. From now on, they are required to supply the academy with no fewer than 15 magic stones each month. Until her entire debt is settled, strict rules confine her within the city's borders, forbidding frequent use of magic. Misha insisted she had a plan made long ago. If she failed to get the money by the deadline, she'd auction herself off without hesitation, ready to abandon all her principles to pay the debt. John scoffed at the idea as preposterous, but promised to help fully. They'd raise the money needed, hoping her odd schemes wouldn't be needed. Still, she urged him to listen to her plan. Proposing a choice, she offered two paths: spend another year chasing after the elusive ghost, or plunge into the dungeon, making every moment count. Afterwards, they could seek the man's perspective on which path was best. From her viewpoint, the dungeon is most advantageous. Captured monsters yield magic stones, valuable treasures that speed debt repayment. In these desperate times, money and stones are more crucial than ever. At a loss for words, and unsettled by the girl's striking presence, the hero simply nodded his agreement, a faint blush coloring his cheeks. Realizing their dire situation, he admitted she'd convinced him to spend all their savings on armor and weapons, then, with desperation, asked if she'd brought any of her own gear. Nearly raising her voice, she insisted that if he truly aimed to harness the full potential of Schrodinger's cat, she would have prioritized securing top-tier gear for herself above all else. Yos's voice cut through the noise as he warned that no amount of gold for new gear could remove the dangers lurking in the dungeon. Without armor, a girl would be defenseless, devoured by the threats below. With a dismissive glance, Misha turned away, assuring the hero that all was well. Confidence radiated from her as she believed, with unwavering certainty, in her own strength. Protection, in her eyes, was unnecessary. Yosei opened his mouth to protest, but the girl swiftly cut him off, insisting that she was viewing the situation with clear-eyed objectivity. Misha smiled gently to ease the tension and expressed unwavering faith in her partner, confidently trusting the protagonist to protect her from any lurking threat and never let a monster harm her. Delight flickered across his face at the girl's words, yet curiosity urged him to gently probe once more. Was she truly that certain about him? Misha instantly agreed, her confident gaze reflecting her belief in his potential. With his skills, he could conquer any dungeon, unlock new powers, and satisfy the curiosity driving him to see how far he could ascend. Acknowledging the weight of her words, the hero conceded her point with a nod. He vowed, with unwavering resolve, to shield her from any danger that might arise. Meeting her gaze with unwavering resolve, he pledged to do whatever it took for them to reach their dream, standing side by side as true adventurers, just as they had always envisioned. Holding his gaze without wavering, she let out a soft, questioning, "Huh?" With a joyful meow, the cat eagerly tried to catch the eye of the two wanderers, its tail flicking with anticipation. With gentle embraces and comforting words, they welcomed him into their midst, softly stroking his hair and promising that he belonged, unquestionably, a cherished member of their tight-knit group. The heroes entered the bustling shop, where the clerk, awed by Yos in the finest armor, gifted him a huge shield. Misha exclaimed how impressive Yos looked in his new gear. With their shopping triumph still fresh, the girl eagerly suggested they make haste to the dungeon. Feeding off her infectious enthusiasm, the hero flashed a confident grin and declared his determination to give it his absolute best today. Anxiety gnawed at him. This was his first journey in ages. Tomorrow they'd face a monster-filled dungeon, but clad in formidable armor and armed with remarkable skills, he felt confident they had a real chance at victory. In a sudden frenzy, the protagonist's childhood friend leaped from the cart and declared the time had come to sweep aside pawns. Now, he proclaimed, the king himself would enter the field. Cornered by desperation, Greel resorted to deceit. Striding up to the exchanger, he boldly proclaimed his wares. A rare S-rank gold stone, he announced, his voice carrying through the crowd. Eagerly, he demanded instant payment in cash. As they walked, Grail began telling her a daring tale he'd invented. He claimed he'd once entered a dangerous dungeon, supposedly to hunt minnows, but unexpectedly discovered a fortune beyond his wildest dreams. With urgency in his voice, he pressed the employee to move quickly. This stone's rarity demanded swift action. He insisted that the academy be notified at once, making sure his name would be forever linked to its discovery. Emotionless and reserved, the girl simply remarked on how cool it was, then swiftly turned her attention to summon the next guest. With a burst of glee, Grail slipped away into the secret passage, unable to contain his delight. Those fools had swallowed his legend whole, and he marveled at his own cunning, impressed by the convincing illusion he had woven. Grail's coins jingled as he bought a gleaming new weapon. The ex-butler, with his trademark phrase, said, "It suits you perfectly." Instantly, the sword granted Grail the vital stats he needed. Emboldened by his recent success, Grail's ambition grew into madness. Driven by visionary schemes, he vowed to become even more powerful, determined that he alone would emerge victorious in the coming showdown. Grail's followers debated their next move, the tense warrior admitting confusion. The priest regretfully confessed they never needed to exile Yos, sighing that he'd realized this only when it was too late. His companion conceded, noting Grail went to great lengths to cast Yos aside only to now mimic him, asking if this wasn't irksome. The priest shrugged, insisting Yos's talents shouldn't be dismissed. The priest recalled the remarkable day a boy gained Schrodinger's skill before his eyes. News spread like wildfire, dominating headlines and conversations for weeks as the boy's name echoed throughout the city. News spread like wildfire, drawing curious throngs from neighboring towns. Soon, eager crowds formed long lines that snaked in front of the church. All eyes turned toward Yos, each gaze searching for proof of the unbelievable. Awe radiated from the crowd as if they stood in the presence of a living saint, their wonder so profound that reality itself seemed a fragile illusion. Once it became clear that Schrodinger's cat wasn't the all-powerful ability many believed it to be, Joss found himself at the center of endless mockery and taunts. In that fleeting moment, clarity struck Growly. He grasped the situation effortlessly. Seizing the golden opportunity, he swiftly stepped forward, ready to assume his friend's role without hesitation. With a stern gaze, the priest declared Grail would never achieve greatness, as his skills were limited by a closed mind and stagnant spirit. Rolling his eyes, Grail wryly replied that another sermon might make his head explode. After a brief, thoughtful silence, he turned to the priest and posed a rhetorical question, wondering aloud about the boy's fate, curious about where life had led him, and what path he now walked. In the dungeon's shadowy halls, Yaz fought monstrous foes, his rare, gleaming armor and confident skill outmatching even the dungeon's strongest. Every move showed how superior his enhanced gear made him over his enemies. Following a swift clash that ended in a string of triumphs, the hero, still reeling from disbelief at his own success, let out a triumphant shout, his breath ragged as he tried to recover from the intensity of the fight. With Misha's encouraging words still lingering in the air, he accomplished the task at last, this time relying on his own strength alone. Until his clash with the skeleton warriors, not a single victory had ever graced the main character's journey. The balance between attack and defense once ruled battles. If your strike couldn't beat the foe's armor, defeat was certain. Now, new gear and weapons have overturned this old rule, transforming the nature of combat. By tapping into Schrodinger's cat's mysterious power, hidden abilities in opponents surface, making them nearly invincible. To avoid witnessing this and the curse he feared, the hero shut his eyes tightly. These treasures can be taken by seizing them from a defeated foe, burning a monster to ashes to collect valuables, stripping armor directly from adversaries, or extracting vital fluids as spoils of victory. Curiosity drove the hero to ask about the monster's true nature. Misha smiled wryly, saying nearly everyone wondered the same, but despite many attempts, she had never found a clear answer. Monsters appear in certain places to destroy all life. Dungeons have levels where adventurers train and advance. The deeper they go, the harder it gets. Level D is the toughest, reserved for only the most skilled adventurers. A sudden realization struck Misha. Somehow, they had wandered far beyond their starting point, and a wave of fear washed over her. As they descended, unease grew. Sensing her hesitation, Yus urged against going to D rank and suggested a safer plan. retrace their steps, and settle for E rank instead. The heroes emerged onto a floor reserved for E rank adventurers. The battle hall sprawled before them in utter ruin, shattered columns strewn across the walkway. From the shadows, malevolent eyes glimmered, watching their every move. Twin hunting lizards let out guttural growls, bearing razor-sharp fangs as they swung their heads toward the intruders, sending a clear and menacing warning. The young mage instinctively braced for an attack, but Yosei leapt in front of her, shielding her with his own body. With a fierce shout, he declared that he alone would handle their adversary. With assured, fluid motions, his sword sliced effortlessly through the air, a display of pure skill and unwavering confidence, every movement radiating the poise of a true master. Following his blisteringly swift triumph, not a trace of fatigue touched the hero's face. With a casual turn of his head toward his companion, he announced, almost playfully, that victory was once again his. Once more, the wild, furious gaze of a beast locked onto the hero. Facing such a formidable creature, Yav hardly resembled someone capable of putting up a fight. His every feature radiated utter innocence. Unfazed, the monster retaliated at once, unleashing a surge of raw power. The force of the blow sent the protagonist staggering, nearly knocking him off his feet, while his companion called out in alarm. In that same instant, Yosei assured her of his safety, unscathed and calm. The force of the perilous strike had been absorbed entirely by his sturdy armor. A wide grin spread across Misha's face as she declared she couldn't remain a bystander. Without hesitation, she was already on her way to lend a hand. With a fierce grip on her staff, the girl commanded the weapon as if it were an extension of her will, her voice ringing out as she challenged the monster to withstand the force of her devastating assault. Jagged shards of ice slammed into the monster's flesh, burrowing deep and drawing a startled gasp. Stunned, the beast froze in its tracks, struggling to grasp the sudden agony that pierced its hide. Unsettled and resolute, the young mage unleashed another surge of magic, hurling a fierce attack toward her foe. Instinct took over as the main character picked up speed, a triumphant shout erupting. With such fiery resolve from his companion, victory in this perilous clash felt within reach. Channeling every ounce of strength into his sword and the shield strapped firmly to his arm, Yos unleashed a devastating strike that crashed into the monster with overwhelming force. Spinning on his heel, he scanned the crowd, eager to spot his partner and celebrate their latest triumph together. The girl flashed a confident smile and thumbs up, silently assuring all was fine, unaware of the ravenous beast forming behind her as the panicked boy's voice broke, while he frantically tried to warn her of the lurking danger. True to his word, Yos darted to the girl's side with lightning speed, determined to help her. The beast surged closer, yet she remained rooted to the spot, paralyzed by terror, her wide eyes locked on her would-be rescuer racing toward her. Sword in one hand, the hero felled his foe with a single blow while pulling the girl close with his other arm, wrapping himself around her protectively, determined to keep her safe at all costs. A warm smile spread across his face, satisfaction blooming within him at the thought of keeping his promise and rescuing Nisha. Still dazed, she murmured her thanks in a barely audible whisper. Suddenly, a dazzling light emanating from the retriever caught her attention, pulling her thoughts away. Both stood frozen, voices trembling with disbelief as they struggled to accept the astonishing sight before them. A triumphant chorus erupted as they at last achieved the milestone they had chased for so long. Level 16 was theirs, and joy radiated from each jubilant voice. 3 months slipped by since the hero's triumphant ascent to greater power. Life continued for them within the familiar streets and unchanged quarters of the same city. After a restful sleep, the hero and his companion stretched luxuriously, enjoying the morning's calm. During this break, he made great progress, reaching level 21 and achieving impressive new stats. Misha, absorbed in paperwork with glasses and narrowed eyes, barely noticed the cheerful good morning as he lovingly stroked his pet, his words brightening the quiet moment. Delight sparked across the girl's face in an instant, her smile radiant with relief and joy at the sight of her companion stirring awake. Seizing the moment, the hero attempted to mimic the adorable expression of his beloved pet. Yos glanced down at the cat and asked if it was hungry, promising it would be fed soon. Meanwhile, the impatient feline let out frantic meows, kneading Yos's leg with its eager paws. At last, breakfast arrived. Eager jaws bit into the meal with a delighted crunch, and a chorus of cheerful meows filled the air, signaling a sudden surge in spirits. Whispers spread as Yo noted the cat loved this pricey dry food. The young mage laughed, saying her beloved feline would eagerly gobble it up, stuffing both cheeks with gusto. As twilight bathed the picturesque city in a golden glow, the heroes set off for their customary wander, their beloved feline companion padding loyally at their heels. The cozy charm of a local cafe welcomed them as they lingered over breakfast, lively conversations weaving through dreams of what lay ahead. Meanwhile, the cat, basking in a patch of sunlight, curled up contentedly for a mid-morning nap. After finishing breakfast and returning home, the heroes slipped seamlessly into their battle attire. Misha adorned herself with her enchanted accessories, while Yos swiftly donned his trusty armor, ready for whatever challenges awaited. With a gentle push, the door swung open, flooding the house with golden sunlight. Side by side, they exchanged a knowing glance, each heart brimming with anticipation for the thrilling adventures that beckoned just beyond the threshold. After defeating another ghost, Yo realized how hard he and Misha had worked. Together they collected precious stones worth 10 million gold, clearing the girl's debt and making early repayment of the academy dues seem possible. "Bite me!" Yo roared, his voice echoing through the battlefield as he brought his sword down in a powerful arc, felling the massive lizard with a single decisive blow. Suspicion flickered in the partner's eyes. Could it really have been so effortless to vanquish the lizard? A nagging doubt crept in. Surely, some hidden danger lurked beneath this apparent simplicity. As the workday ended with his companions, Yo approached the mage girl and suggested teaming up for a rank D challenge next time. Misha nodded thoughtfully, agreeing it was worth a try. Though the protagonist nodded in agreement, a flicker of worry clouded his gaze. Concern for his companion's safety lingered on his mind. Quietly, he inquired whether she possessed the strength and skill needed to conquer this stage. Misha admitted she'd considered it too, but remembering his vow to protect her, her fears vanished. Determined, they knew they had to take risks, or the stones would always be beyond their grasp. With a sly wink, the hero gave his partner a respectful bow and offered a formal apology. Backing up her statement, he agreed that every adventure is woven with risk, and declared himself ready to face whatever awaited them. With conviction in her voice, the mage girl proclaimed that the moment to strike had come. Determination radiated from the heroes, and every member of the small research team braced themselves for the impending battle. Yo suggested that, with the looming threat of their next mission, safeguarding the cat in a protective bag would be the wisest move, ensuring the little companion remained unharmed amid the chaos of battle. Again, the young man's strange pet vanished into his bag, erased as if it never existed, an uncanny disappearance mirroring the protagonist's signature ability, Schrodinger's cat. Deep within the dungeon, at the corridor's end, an unusual staircase awaits, one that descends directly to the domain of rank D. Resolute in their quest, the companions pressed on, brows knit in concentration, as each careful step brought them ever nearer to the perilous heart of the dungeon. Mysterious symbols, reminiscent of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, sprawled along the walls, suggesting the presence of a hidden code waiting to be deciphered. Venomous cobras slithered into the shadows, weaving themselves into the dark corners. Yos, prioritizing safety, took the lead after telling his partner his plan and asking the girl to stay put. She gave a confident thumbs up, clearly signaling her understanding and agreement. Shield raised and senses alert, the hero cautiously entered the hall, bracing for danger. Suddenly, a girl's anxious voice echoed from the shadows, calling for her companion and desperately asking what was happening. With a reassuring smile, he told the traveler all was well. No trace of danger had appeared on the horizon. Without warning, a sharp force sliced through the air beside the hero, sending a jolt of terror through his core. The unseen monster unleashed a single strike, powerful enough to whip the wind into a furious whirlwind. With a sharp cry, Yos warned Misha of a lurking presence, commanding her to stay back and not approach under any circumstances. Out of nowhere, an enormous iron door crashed down, sealing off the path ahead of the girl. In a heartbeat, the partner collapsed against the door, pounding frantically with both fists while her desperate cries for her partner's name echoed through the air. Silence swallowed the last echoes of his companion's desperate cries, forcing the protagonist to quickly survey his surroundings. Bewilderment struck. How had the monster breached this room when every entrance to the corridor had been securely sealed? A jolt of terror shot through Yosei as the monster's guttural roar echoed behind him. Whirling around, his eyes widened at the sight of a colossal shadow looming, an ominous silhouette thrown by his formidable foe. The floor boss, emerging from the depths, is the level's toughest foe. Towering by the way forward, it fiercely guards the staircase, preventing any advancement until it's defeated. No one can proceed to the next tier until it falls. With its formidable C rank, the Cobra easily outclassed the hero. Floor bosses greatly outpower regular enemies, and facing them without a high rank almost guarantees serious injury or instant death. In that moment, an unexpected challenge stood before Misha, an imposing iron door blocking her path. She unleashed every powerful spell and incantation in her arsenal, desperately seeking a way through this unyielding barrier. With a heavy, resonant sigh, she surrendered to her miserable fate, lamenting her helplessness as the stubborn door refused to yield, no matter how desperately she struggled. A sudden, thunderous crash erupted from behind the door, jolting the young mage and flooding her with fresh fear. Stammering her partner's name, confusion tangled in her voice, she struggled to grasp what chaos might be unfolding beyond that barrier. Muscles tense and eyes narrowed, the protagonist readied for combat, relieved she was safe from lurking danger. For her sake, he forced a reassuring smile, pretending all was well as chaos spiraled beyond his control. With determined optimism, he rallied his companions, proclaiming that they would all make it home alive, as he braced himself for the coming battle. With a thunderous roar, the monster launched its assault. Overwhelming force sent the hero hurtling across the chamber, the creature's first strike from its elevated vantage, almost effortlessly flinging its opponent aside. Refusing to surrender, Yosa's anger blazed brighter, spurring him to marshal every ounce of willpower into a fierce, unyielding resolve. A blood-curdling scream tore from his lips as he lunged forward, launching a furious assault. With lightning reflexes, the perilous strike was deflected, and in the same swift motion, the hero's blade darted toward the foe's head. Yet its surface, armored in unyielding scales, sent the sword recoiling with a sharp metallic ring. Gripping his weapon with new resolve, the hero marveled at the floor boss's fortress-like shell as his odds shrank. As doubt crept in, the beast lunged at him with a relentless, breathtakingly fierce charge. In a heartbeat, realizing escape was impossible, he braced himself and conjured a shimmering shield for protection. Horror twisted across his features. Without warning, the enemy lunged at the young man, unleashing a sudden and ferocious assault. Yosa scanned his foe with sharp eyes and realized the floor boss's power was overwhelming. No matter how hard he tried, his sword couldn't touch the monster, making victory seem distant and disaster imminent. Panic filled the girl's eyes as she pounded on the door, refusing to give in. Resolute, she stood by the main character and called to Yos, urging him to persevere and fiercely reminding him that survival was his top priority. His companion's encouraging words echoed in his mind, igniting a fierce resolve. Giving up was no longer an option, as his responsibility now extended to Misha's life, which depended on his determination. Riding a surge of intense emotions and newfound responsibility, Yos surged forward, his voice ringing out with fierce determination. Losing now was simply not an option. Steeling his resolve, he urged himself onward, commanding his mind not to falter. With deliberate intent, he issued a silent order: attack. When a single attempt falls short, don't hesitate. Give it a second, or even a third determined try. Reminding himself that survival depended on constant movement, he resolved to keep weaving through the chaos, even if his attacks never found their mark. Striking the floor boss 100 times with his blade had to make a difference, so the protagonist assured himself, steeling his resolve. Driven by determination, he forced his mind to zero in on the single objective before him. Deep down, he whispered encouragement to himself. If he could manage even a small gain, just a slight pause in the pace, victory might still be within reach. The key lies in pressing the attack relentlessly, undaunted, even when the creature towers over him tenfold. Besting such a formidable foe demands relentless vigilance. There can be no pause, not even for a heartbeat. Out of nowhere, a devastating strike thundered from the floor boss, its sheer force fueled by an overwhelming advantage in stats. The difference in power was simply insurmountable. Crashing to the floor, a wave of finality washed over him. This was truly the end. Wounds burning and strength drained away, he knew continuing the fight was no longer possible. Alarmed by an unshakable sense of dread, the girl called out his name once more, her voice piercing through the monstrous wails that echoed around her. Sprawled across the icy floor, the protagonist found himself defenseless, stripped of every last piece of equipment, utterly powerless to resist. In his heart, he silently begged forgiveness from the young mage, knowing that victory continued to elude him, and with it, the promise to safeguard her faded once more into uncertainty. From within the bag, a plaintive, insistent meowing rose up, a call that tugged at the heart. Yos reminded himself inwardly that abandoning his companion was out of the question, his gaze unwaveringly fixed on the softly shaking bag. Summoning the last reserves of his will, he reached out and invoked Schrodinger's cat, pushing to awaken its mysterious power. Instantly, the enigmatic feline poked its head out from the shadows, curious and alert. With hope glimmering in his eyes, the protagonist pressed the bag into his hands and whispered a final wish that after he was gone, his companion would be cared for. In that moment of overwhelming hardship, an unexpected surge of strength welled up within him, empowering him to rise and persevere despite the daunting odds. Using his own weapon for support, Yo regained his balance. Though injured, he steadied himself and slipped back into a fighting stance, determination blazing in his eyes. Summoning every remaining ounce of strength, the protagonist surged forward for a final, desperate assault, pouring his very life force into one conclusive, all-or-nothing strike. Much to his astonishment, his pet sprang out of the bag in a sudden burst of energy, instantly catching his attention. With fury blazing in its eyes, the cat tore across the room, unleashing sharp, indignant meows while twisting mid-leap into wild, acrobatic somersaults. In a sudden blur, the cat lunged, striking the enemy's hand with harsh metallic clangs. This formidable foe was the floor's boss. The hero watched in awe, eyes wide at the spectacle. The enemy hesitated, baffled by the cat's sudden appearance, while the young man stood shocked, unable to understand why his feline companion had acted so abruptly, surprising even him. Meanwhile, his beloved companion watched the enemy's every move with keen intensity, muscles tensed and ready to spring into action once more. Mid-air and barely bothering to aim, the cat launched a flurry of stinging attacks at the deadly floor boss. Stunned into stillness, Yost found himself rooted to the spot, unable to process the astonishing spectacle before him or fathom how such a thing could occur. With a flash of razor claws, the cat struck so swiftly and fiercely that the enemy could do nothing but writhe in agony, utterly robbed of any hope to retaliate. Yos watched the feline closely, puzzled as it tormented the floor boss from afar without touching it. He wondered about the mysterious cat's hidden powers, realizing much about his companion was still a secret to him. With a menacing hiss, the enemy lunged at the pet. In response, Schrödinger the cat summoned an unbreakable barrier around himself, its shimmering energy shielding him from even the faintest harm. The favorite exerted himself to the limit, every muscle taut with effort. Maintaining the protective barrier clearly demanded immense strength, and the struggle to keep deflecting the relentless assaults was etched across his face. A sudden realization struck Joss: shouldering the entire burden himself simply wasn't fair. Calling out to his feline companion, he urged it to flee, all the while questioning his own ability to withstand the might of such a formidable adversary. Yet unwavering resolve burned in the cat's eyes. Surrender simply wasn't an option. The hero watched in confusion, utterly perplexed by whatever mysterious mission his feline companion seemed so intent on accomplishing. In time, it dawned on him that the pet's apparent indifference was no accident. Its careful avoidance served as a shield, safeguarding both itself and its beloved owner. Yet realization struck the hero, a grim certainty that their fragile status quo teetered on the brink. Action was imperative. Simply standing by and watching the cat, was a luxury he could not afford. Despite the formidable threat looming before them, hope still flickered for two members of their modest research team. An opportunity to break free had not yet vanished. A dawning realization swept over the hero. Victory might be impossible alone, but united as one, their combined strength could overcome any challenge. Seizing the moment, the hero boldly drew all eyes by delivering a fierce blow to the flank of the formidable floor boss. The slightest movement enraged the colossal foe, who unleashed brutal attacks with a roar. As the behemoth fended off Yosis's weak blows, the hero seized the chance to command the cat into action. Compacting his body mid-leap, the cat unleashed a furious barrage of blows from the far side, each strike drawing a guttural howl of agony from the wounded beast. Triumph surged as the plan succeeded, and the main character cheered, yes, in delight, realizing teamwork made anything possible. The cat proved a relentless, formidable ally, never pausing in the intensity of its attacks. In the heat of battle, the enemy, angered by the unwavering foe, struck Yos with full force. Luck was with the hero. His shield barely absorbed the blow, just enough to avert catastrophe. Meow sprang to his companion's defense, swiftly deducing how to land powerful strikes against the enemy's head. With each calculated blow, he aimed to rob his foe of both clarity and the will to retaliate. The real challenge was the beast's relentless focus on the protagonist. All its fury targeted him alone, and despite the cat's frantic efforts, nothing could stop its rage or the burning urge to destroy the young man. Yos staggered as a devastating strike crashed into his armor, nearly knocking him off his feet. High above, his loyal pet witnessed the attack unfolding and recognized the deadly follow-up aimed straight at his master. With no time for hesitation, the cat sprang into action, launching himself toward his endangered master. Mid-leap, he conjured a shimmering shield of energy, a barrier so formidable that it halted the enemy's advance, saving Yos from certain doom. The sheer force of the strike shattered even that formidable defense, allowing the floor boss to land a crushing blow on the cat. With a heart-rending yowl, it was sent hurtling to the ground below. Moved by the sight of the cat's pitiful condition, the young man called out its given name, hoping to rouse it and make it open its eyes. Yet the little creature remained motionless, unresponsive, and still as stone. Wasting no precious moment, the menacing floor boss lunged forward, launching a savage assault on the helpless creature mid-flight. With a fierce resolve, he sprang into the air, ready to strike from above. With a thunderous crash, the colossal beast descended, channeling every ounce of its power into a single devastating punch, clearly determined to smash its troublesome prey deep into the ground. With a thunderous punch, the floor boss smashed a deep crater into the ground. The monstrous creature aimed to annihilate me in a single, devastating strike. A guttural growl rumbled from the monster as it drew itself up to its full, imposing height, radiating an air of absolute dominance and certain triumph. Terror flashed in Yossi's eyes as dread overtook him. Gripped by fear for his beloved pet, he could only reach out helplessly toward the spot where his cat had last appeared, unable to break free from the crushing weight of his own sorrow. The enemy showed not the slightest hint of surrender. Seizing the brief stillness, his unwavering eyes locked onto the final barrier that stood between him and triumphant victory. The realization struck like a bolt of lightning, sending the protagonist sprinting at full tilt. Terror twisted his features into a ghastly mask, for the next battle would pit him alone against a fearsome monster of formidable strength. The monster's sheer force pinned the hero tightly against the wall, crushing him beneath an overwhelming pressure. Exhausted, the adventurer collapsed on the cold floor, strength gone from trembling limbs. As the floor boss advanced swiftly, a chilling certainty filled him. His journey would end here. This move was just a ruse, a cunning ploy to confuse the beast and make it think victory was near. Smiling slyly, he claimed these were his final moments and urged the creature to strike with its full strength. At the sound of his owner's booming command, Schrodinger's cat pricked up his ears and set his scheme into motion without hesitation. Silent as a shadow, he stalked his foe from behind, paws gliding over the ground, eyes locked on his unsuspecting target, who remained wholly fixated on the main character. In a flash, Yossi's beloved companion unleashed a barrage of precise, deadly strikes, toppling the powerful floor boss, which oozed a strange fluid as it lay stunned and confused, unable to comprehend its sudden defeat. The protagonist realized Schrodinger's cat could bend space, a power once limited to small objects. Seeing it affect the whole room inspired a new idea. A cunning plan began to take shape in his mind. The plan was simple: use the skill just before Meow moved, making him vanish the moment he struck. In that tense air, Yosu sensed all the power in the chamber focused in the cat's poised paws. Empowered by the divine gift, the protagonist stood with victory within his grasp. With unwavering confidence, he called out to his foe, declaring that this time, defeat was inevitable. Gathering momentum, he charged forward and slammed his weapon into the monster with all his might, silently offering gratitude to his loyal Kolomochik for the timely rescue. With your help, the hero plunged his sword deeper into the enemy's flesh, a surge of determination igniting within him. In that moment, he understood. They could vanquish this foe together. Despite a near-fatal blow from Yos, the floor boss clung to life, striking wildly in pain. His attacks missed, but his desperate thrashing still threatened to steal victory from the hero. Summoning the last reserves of his strength after the grueling clash, the hero unleashed a piercing cry, vowing that the monster would not escape his grasp. Determined to behead the floor boss, he ignored the monster's savage attacks, driving his sword deeper into its trembling neck. Caught off guard by his relentless ferocity, the beast was rendered helpless as he pinned it. With sweat streaming down his face, the protagonist let out a desperate scream, vowing that this thing would not relinquish its grip on him so easily and would inevitably overpower him. Head bowed in despair, the young mage lingered by the cursed door, anxieties shredding her composure as disaster-filled thoughts raced, when suddenly, without warning, the door burst open. Springing up from the chilly floor, she called out her partner's name, "Yos!" her voice brimming with hope. Gripping her staff with determination, Misha called out, wondering if her companion would emerge from the dimly lit room. Tears filled her eyes at the horrifying scene. Filth and chaos covered the room. A monstrous creature lay abandoned at the center, and the adventurer and his companion were gone. Only emptiness and fear remained. Suddenly, from behind the colossal structure, the living head of Meow Mochik emerged, rekindling a spark of hope in the girl's heart. Yosei, the cat's owner, stepped outside after him. Flashing a reassuring thumbs up to his companion, he beamed with delight, declaring that together with the cat, they had handled the situation and were both perfectly all right. Disbelief washed over her as tears of pure joy welled up in her eyes. Hands flying to her mouth, she stood frozen in astonished delight, afraid to trust what she was seeing. Throughout the ordeal, anxiety gnawed at the girl mage's heart. The moment she spotted her partner, she raced into his arms, clinging to him with desperate strength. His name burst from her lips, loud and tremulous, as worry overwhelmed her. Tears of joy streamed down her face as she babbled through muffled sobs. The hero stood stunned by the outpouring of emotion, while the cat reveled in their unexpected victory and the harmony it brought to all. Regaining her composure, the young mage loosened her fierce grip on the hero. Turning to the cat, she pulled the little creature close, praising him warmly for his extraordinary efforts. Delight sparkled in the pet's eyes upon hearing praise from the girl, and in joyful agreement, it began to shower her cheek with affectionate licks. Gently, she shifted him away from her face. Locking eyes with the creature's keen gaze, gratitude welled up within her as she offered heartfelt thanks for rescuing Yos from the brink of death. Enjoying his companion's gentle affection, the cat scanned the room for his owner to check on him, but instead spotted Yos peering from behind the retriever's flickering pop-up window. After defeating the beast, he was drawn to the rare green scale ore, harvested from a C-rank giant cobra, coveted for crafting armor so powerful it could rival the creature's own protection. Triumph surging through his veins, the protagonist tightened his grip into a fist and declared with elation, "Yes!" The thrill of victory mingled with the exhilarating power of his newly acquired resource. Victory over the formidable foe propelled Yosu to level 22. Not only had he ascended in strength, but he'd also managed to take down a few impressive adversaries in one fell swoop, an outstanding outcome for a single battle. Out of nowhere, yet another system notification flashed before my eyes. Astonishingly, even Schrodinger's cat, a notoriously challenging skill to enhance, had just advanced to level 3. A fresh pop-up window flickered to life on the retriever, showcasing a selection of new abilities for the protagonist, each one promising to tip the scales in upcoming clashes. Astonished as a surprise menu offered him a random bonus ability at skill level 3, Yos anxiously pondered which to choose while Misha, seeing his shock, quickly demanded to know what was happening. A surge of emotion clouded the hero's thoughts, but he forced a reassuring smile for his partner, insisted he was fine, and with quiet determination, suggested they return to the guild without delay. As the companions drew near the guild's doors, an unexpected clamor spilled out into the street, lively voices and laughter filling the air, a stark contrast to the usual calm that reigned at this hour. The cramped guild room buzzed as adventurers gathered shoulder to shoulder until an urgent announcement froze the room. Research teams paused, eyes on their leaders, while patrols were swiftly dispatched down the narrow hallways. Sitting calmly with a cat on his shoulder, Yosei asked about the commotion. The exchange clerk, a mutual acquaintance, blurted out in surprise that a new boss had appeared in the E-level dungeon, a maze they hadn't heard. The girl cried out, warning that the guilds detected poisonous gas and a deadly monster in the dungeon. Unfazed, the young man calmly claimed he had just defeated the infamous boss that made the dungeon its lair. Ignoring the hero, the attendant continued, saying the case would go to a high-ranking adventurer for swift resolution. Growing frustrated, the young man repeated that he had already defeated the giant cobra. Instead of answering directly, the girl repeated her resolve aloud, her eyes steely with determination to erase the menace the monster posed to the guild. Suddenly jolting awake, she unleashed a piercing scream, demanding, "What?" Bewilderment consumed her. How could a mere fledgling adventurer possibly defeat such a fearsome floor boss all by himself? After hearing the news, the attendant advised the hero to wait for the guild representative. Soon, the man summoned by the girls arrived and sincerely apologized for keeping the party waiting so long. Bursting with urgency, he rushed over to announce that a second measurement had been conducted just for them. The toxic gases had markedly subsided, and the sheer size of the cobra, as revealed by the formation of the ore, was nothing short of colossal. Representing the guild, he offered heartfelt gratitude to his companions for their steadfast efforts. The man's gaze swept over the two adventurers, quickly noting the hero's shimmering B-rank blue phoenix chainmail. Its famed strength was clear to him. This was clearly no ordinary armor. Despite the recent chaos, the guild representative expressed gratitude and announced that a special reward request had been sent, ensuring the hero's invaluable deeds would be formally recognized by the guild. The ambitious adventurers, focused only on defeating the floor boss to rank up and gather rare armor materials, were surprised by an unexpected twist. The promise of extra rewards they hadn't imagined possible. Defeat a C-rank boss to earn 10 million gold. To claim the reward, heroes present their ID cards to a device, which quickly verifies and delivers the payment. As Yas handed his card to Misha, astonishment flashed across the guild rep's face. She froze, struggling to process how a humble F-rank matched the monster they had just defeated. The hero explained that only by completing special guild assignments could their rank and privileges on the adventurer's card be updated, with each new rank unlocking more rewards and making progress worthwhile. Pausing for a brief moment, the man requested the hero's patience as he struggled to process the incredible images of their cards imprinted in his mind, scarcely able to believe the reality unfolding before him. Spinning around to face the heroes again, he declared it unthinkable that an F-rank adventurer could vanquish a C-rank boss. Such an outcome, he insisted, would only sow confusion and outrage among the populace. The heroes sat in silence on the sofa, awaiting the guild representative's verdict, while he excused himself to his office for an important discussion with a senior guild official. Moments later, the guild representative brought unexpected news. For defeating a C-rank boss, they would skip ranks and advance from F-rank novices to D-rank independents, receiving warm congratulations and on-the-spot recognition. A firm handshake sealed the triumph of their negotiations. Each expressed heartfelt wishes for mutual prosperity ahead, hoping fortune would remain steadfastly in their favor. Silence stretched between the partners, an awkward hush settling over them as a rosy flush crept across their cheeks, betraying the sudden tide of embarrassment that had swept in. Shaking off the haze of her obsession, the girl started to whistle a cheerful tune, then spun around to call her partner by name. Yos echoed her, joining in with a playful whistle of his own. With infectious laughter and beaming smiles, they slapped their hands together in a triumphant high five, unable to contain their shared excitement. With a glint of excitement in his eyes, Mishko proposed they mark the occasion by reviving their cherished tradition. What better reason to celebrate than this? Exhausted to the core, the main character could barely stand and pleaded with his companion to take him to the temple before anything else. In the temple's hallowed halls, priests of restorative magic healed Yosin and his loyal pet, soothing their wounds, banishing exhaustion, and restoring their strength with gentle hands and powerful spells in moments. As soon as the wellness session concluded, Joss and his companion headed straight for the bar, eager to mark the cheerful close of their day. They lingered long into the evening, raising countless toasts and never letting their mugs run empty. In the end, an overwhelming wave of nausea hit the girl. She had clearly overindulged. With the main character by her side, the two slipped outside, hoping the cool night air would bring her some relief. Undeterred, Misha asked for another drink, her voice enchanting, as fate engineered events that led the heroes toward Grail, who happened to arrive in the city and visit the same tavern where they had gathered. Yossi's childhood friends strode into the bar and boomed, "The name's Greel! Today's my band's gathering!" The atmosphere buzzed as the three newcomers eagerly waited for their chance to prove themselves. Surrounded by his assembled crew, now bolstered by fresh faces, anticipation thrummed in his veins. Today, at last, marked the moment his long-awaited ascent would finally take flight. Grail brooded over months wasted in Lipidate, repeatedly relocating due to Yosu's costly incompetence. Though he struggled to forgive, a quiet resolve stirred within him. He silently vowed to reclaim the precious time lost. Grail felt little enthusiasm about teaming up with the two, finding their abilities lacking, but saw them as disposable pawns, useful only as stepping stones to achieve his own ambitions. The thought brought him a twisted sense of comfort. One day, more capable hands could easily take their place, just as he had once done to his childhood friend, banishing him from the squad without mercy and leaving him utterly destitute. Minutes drifted by as Grail lost himself in thought, but soon the weight of purpose anchored him back to the present. Steeling himself, he gripped the enigmatic package tightly, ready to unveil its secrets. With a swift motion, he broke the seal and unfolded the document. A rank-up quest assignment stared back at him. Gathering his team, he announced their next challenge. In the days ahead, they would embark on this crucial mission together. With a fierce cry, he declared that remaining F-rank rookies was out of the question. This quest wasn't just a task. It was the first stride toward their future greatness, a shared ambition that bound them together. A lively debate broke out when a warrior told leader Grail that acting on the quest's first day was reckless. The priest agreed, urging that careful deliberation should always precede bold action. Grail's features contorted in a mask of horror and seething hatred. The warrior's taunts lit a furious blaze within the head of the research team. Outraged beyond control, he unleashed a torrent of insults upon everyone assembled. Grail passionately argued, asking if anyone heard the news. A sorcerer and warrior in blue phoenix chainmail instantly killed Larry's boss at E-level. Such disasters were spreading, he urged, and decisive action was needed now. Games hold no appeal for him. Grailson claims his sights are set on grand and daring accomplishments. According to him, the esteemed members of the Grail's team possess a drive and ambition unmatched by any other research group. He grinned and announced that drinks were on him, urging his research team to relax. As master swordsman, he said they could trust him with any trouble. Spirits rose as everyone enjoyed the rare chance to celebrate together. Glasses rose high as the entire Grail research team toasted their triumph, voices ringing out in jubilant cheers. In the midst of the celebration, the priest remained solemn, hands clasped in a quiet prayer, abstaining from the revelry and the wine. Despite his questionable character, the man won everyone over by openly displaying acts of generosity, prompting the group to place their trust in him. Bitterness filled Grail each time he thought of Yos. Secretly wishing for Yos's fall as he pursued his own success, Grail vowed to capture the elusive adventurer, never realizing that the shadow he chased was Yos himself. Around this time, Misha Yosin and his cat had both dozed off in their apartment, each sprawled in a spot never meant for slumber. With a heavy sigh, the girl slumped forward, burying her face amidst a chaos of half-empty bottles and spilled cocktails strewn across the table. Struggling to rise, a wave of dizziness washed over him, a vivid reminder of last night's excess. The aftermath of too much alcohol lingered heavy in his head, leaving little doubt he had gone overboard. Directly before the hero's eyes, a retriever's pop-up window materialized, capturing his attention. The choice still lingered, unresolved, while the sands of time slipped quickly away. A revelation struck the hero. The skills unlocked through leveling up fall into 3 distinct categories. Each one is shaped by the wielder's own willpower and fervent desires, serving as a reflection of their inner strength and intent. Drifting through a haze of contemplation, he resolved to rouse his partner, still deep in slumber after yesterday's events, and seek her counsel. Joss gently inquired whether she had a moment to spare. Still caught between dreams and waking, confusion clouded her mind as the words failed to register. Instinctively, she brought her hands to her eyes, rubbing away the last traces of sleep in an effort to regain clarity. Yo began explaining that with Schrodinger's cat skill at level 3, he needed to talk to his partner. His words so astonished her that she cried out in disbelief, startling the peacefully sleeping cat awake. Without hesitation, the girl scooped the frightened pet into her embrace, gently rocking it back and forth as soothing words of apology spilled from her lips. With a flourish, the young man indicated the retriever window that appeared, explaining a new menu with skills, battle cry, level 2 strike, and more. Intrigued, his companion asked if he could really choose even more abilities this way. When her gaze landed on the final suggestion, sword technique, the girl froze in astonishment. After studying the list, she composed herself and urged the main character to choose the sword technique skill. Mastering this skill greatly boosts a sword warrior's attack and is key to rising in rank. Yosu's childhood friend, who drove him away, had it, leaving Greel lagging far behind due to the resulting power gap. Each skill was shaped by the hero's inner drive. Yos mastered swordsmanship due to trauma from when Greel, holding the advantage, ruthlessly struck him with his blade, despite Yos's desperate, ignored pleas to stop. Uncertain about which path to take, the hero turned to the magician girl for guidance, hoping her wisdom would light the way. While gently soothing the restless cat by her side, she replied with reassuring clarity. After settling the pet on a cushioned bed, Misha told the hero they'd start with skill basics. She'd explain each one in detail, assuring him that only then would it be clear which skill was best to choose. Embracing her new authority as a teacher, Misha filled the board with all key rules for mastering professional skills, detailing that each specialty gives 10 mastery points per level and outlining all standard skill regulations. The girl remarked that points 1 and 2 required no further clarification. Regarding point 3, she explained that experiencing a level 1 hit was necessary before one could take a level 2 hit. In her view, point 4, much like point 1 and point 2, requires no further explanation. The countdown displayed on the screen simply marks the deadline by which a decision must be reached. Throughout the day, Misha pondered which skill from the offered selection would become his choice. None were instantly attainable, yet, thanks to his unique ability, he could effortlessly dismiss any skills he deemed irrelevant. Outraged, Yo bristled as the girl explained, "Imagine a swordsman aiming for mastery. 350 points are just the start. To truly conquer the blade, one must invest 30 more points and relentless effort beyond that." In Misha's eyes, the hero's rapid acquisition of abilities spells trouble. What truly concerns her is that his power sidesteps the usual branching skill tree, letting him select any skill he desires, without consideration for its required level. An added perk: the lower the skill, the steeper the point requirement. Misha couldn't help but feel a pang of envy. It took every ounce of her effort to wield control over all four elements. For most, mastering a single element, or at most two, would suffice. Yet her unique skill demands command over all four magical elements to awaken its true power. Achieving such mastery will require years of relentless dedication. Meanwhile, Yos could effortlessly conquer the highest tier of every system for a mere 40 points. The sheer unfairness of it all struck her as an outrageous cheat, leaving her both envious and playfully pitying her own predicament. With a gentle smile, the girl stepped closer and affectionately patted the hero's head, her gratitude clear for his attentive ear, not just to lessons, but also to the quiet burdens of her heart. Curious about the outcome, she inquired about the protagonist's final decision following her brief introductory lesson. With a curious glint in his eye, Misha wondered aloud whether Yas had at last embraced his old dream of fencing, eager to challenge his childhood friend and settle those long-standing scores. Yos made the unexpected choice to forgo the sword technique skill, a decision that left Misha and Meow utterly astonished. Meanwhile, in a distant land, even Grail couldn't conceal his surprise. Realizing pursuit of the Grail is futile, as the moment has passed, the young man now aims for the legendary Holy Blade. The enormity of this ambition leaves Misha in awe. The sword technique grants a fixed plus 60 attack power, but that's just the start. Wielding the Holy Blade adds 1.00 flat attack, boosts total attack by 10%, and unlocks exclusive abilities like the powerful Earth Compression skill. Misha wonders aloud whether sword technique and Holy Blade might be used in tandem. Yostel promptly clarifies that the effects of ordinary skills cannot be merged with those of Holy Blade. Traditionally, the Sacred Blade is granted only after mastering the sword technique. Yet Yos stands as an exception to this rule, a fact that fills Misha with delight. From the target, 3 distinct skills are drawn forth, threading into the very fabric of their will. Yet if desire is to truly ignite within him, Yosu must cast aside the shadows of his past and embrace the power that beckons. Opting for a bold new strategy, the hero selects the battle cry skill, unleashing a mighty roar that surges with courage, boosting both attack and defense by 10% for a full 3 minutes. Amid the battle with the giant cobra, Yos rallied his tired spirit, his voice piercing the darkness with hope. In this very struggle, that inner power first awakened within him. Misha nods in silent agreement, the echoes of the young man's terrified screams and the plaintive meows from beyond the dungeon door still fresh in memory. With determination, the girl declares their mission: master every skill and reach new heights. The Sacred Blade awaits at the summit. Inspired by her resolve, the hero nods, ready to pursue this lofty goal together. Hidden deep in a level 70+ restricted zone, the Holy Blade is every warrior's ultimate prize, inaccessible to lower-level adventurers, except for Trodener's cat, whose unique nature lets it surpass all such limits. Countless opportunities await on the horizon, urging Misha and Yos to press onward. With every step, their remarkable abilities grow ever stronger and more refined. 2 weeks swept by, and Yos and Meow embarked on a quest for new gear. Today was the day destiny called him to join the ranks of D-rank adventurers at last. From the prized green scale ore taken after slaying the giant cobra, the young man forged a formidable shield, its emerald sheen and large size able to repel even the fiercest attacks. Yossi gratefully nods to the weapon master, admiring his new shield. "Thank you," he says sincerely. "Can I leave my old shield here for now?" The master smiles warmly. "Of course, leave it here any time." A satisfied young man strides out of the workshop, a freshly crafted shield gleaming in his grip. The moment he disappears from view, the Grail materializes near the workshop, shimmering in the quiet air. Driven by an insatiable hunger for power, Grail scours his surroundings with sharp, vigilant eyes. Every piece of weaponry or armor could be the key to surpassing his current limits. As 2 men quietly discuss a battered, time-worn shield, its glory faded, Grail's keen eyes catch both their words and the relic. Intrigue flickers as he observes, sensing the stories etched in its rust and cracks. Curiosity twinkling in his eyes, the young man leans forward and inquires if the old shield is for sale, catching the craftsman completely off guard. The weapons master reveals to the hero that specialized gear like this is pieced together and restored at a shop dealing in second-hand weaponry. With eager excitement, Grail informs the craftsman that a shield of such impressive quality ought to fetch a price of 200,000 gold. Yet he proposes a bold offer. He'll take this one, unrepaired and as is, for 100,000 gold. Elation bubbled up within the hero as he reveled in his shrewd decision. Not only had he seized a golden opportunity to ascend in power, but his keen bargaining had also spared him a hefty sum of 100,000 gold. Satisfaction gleams in the young man's eyes as he secures a top-tier shield, having triumphed over Yos. With fresh confidence, he presses onward on his journey, determined to forge ahead and surpass his rival for good. Unaware of the triumphant Grail gleaming at the far end of the alley, Yaz pressed forward, their paths never crossing, fated to remain strangers for now. Amid the bustling street lined with colorful shops and inviting eateries, the hero suddenly crosses paths with Misha. Just as quickly, he spins on his heel, turning away. Curiosity piqued, Misha calls out, "What's wrong?" Whipping around, Yost paused, certain he'd heard his name echoing behind him. Yet the girl simply grinned, brushed off his suspicions with a playful word, and darted ahead, her laughter ringing clear and bright through the air. With a radiant smile, the young magician in the oversized black hat extends her hand, offering it to him while beckoning him to join her on an enchanting adventure. Warmth flickers in the hero's gaze as he looks at her. With spirits high, Yos, Misha, and Meow embark together on a brand new journey, because for this trio, the adventure has only just begun. In a stunning metropolis with sunlit rooftops, a monstrous roar shatters the peace and echoes through every alley. All eyes turn to the dungeon entrance, the ominous source of this terrifying commotion. A steep, winding staircase descends into the dungeon's dark heart, its edges fading into shadowy chasms. Far below, heroes battle a colossal dragon, their clash lighting the abyss with fierce, fleeting bursts. With a thunderous leap, the formidable warrior Grail delivers a crushing strike, sending the hapless monster's head soaring through the air and deep into the shadowy depths of the dungeon. The hero accomplished the task with ease, a triumphant grin lighting up his face as he eagerly beckons his companions to press forward. Scattered across the ground, the weary soldiers struggle to catch their breath, their faces etched with fatigue. Cloaked in black, a man steps forward, appealing to Grail to allow the battered warriors a moment's respite. Impatiently, the hero notes the mission's strict time limit. To reach rank E, they must retrieve mine water from the dungeon using a magically charged flask before time runs out. With a sharp gaze, Grail questions the mage's intentions, wondering aloud if any action will be taken. As impatience flickers in his eyes, he readies himself to issue an order. With a commanding voice, the young man demands the rest of the team to get to their feet, warning that anyone who refuses to press on alongside him will be abandoned without hesitation. Astonishment flashes on the mage's face, but before he speaks, the wounded soldier, eyes blazing, insists, "We're not finished. We can do this." Behind them, a battered youth rises, refusing to be left behind. With a stern expression, the head-banded warrior firmly rested his hand on the robed man's shoulder, silencing any protest before it could form. Taken aback, Grail swiftly issued the order to advance. Led by the determined young man, the squad advanced into the dungeon as the injured lagged behind. Suddenly, a menacing monster appeared, but Grail stood ready, prepared to repel the beast's attack. Bloodied but unyielding, the fighter shields his friends, the young mage heals wounds, while amid chaos, Grail charges and beheads the monster, ensuring the team's victory as they emerge from the cleared dungeon into the light. Raising the brimming magical flask high above his head, the valiant warrior proclaimed with infectious enthusiasm, "The collection is finally complete." A stunning young woman offers heartfelt congratulations to the squad for achieving rank E, sending a wave of delight through Grail. The accomplishment had come far more easily than he ever anticipated, leaving him pleasantly surprised. Meanwhile, the rest of the team lingers in his shadow, their faces as dark as thunderclouds. Baffled by their lackluster spirits, Grail turns to them, questioning if illness has swept through their ranks. Wearing a stern expression, the robed figure tells the young man this is the last time they'll ignore such recklessness. Their association is ended. Nearby, Grail anxiously clenches his wrists and asks, "What's happening here?" With a furious shout, The hero confronts the man, blaming him for their collective demotion to E rank. Yet the man remains silent, his expression unreadable. The robed man shouts at Grail, accusing him of allowing reckless risks when both shield fighters only narrowly escaped with their lives. Bristling with defiance, the young man retorts that before they can strike back, they must first withstand the enemy's onslaught. He challenges everyone to consider the harsh truth: they lack even the skill to evade or shield themselves from harm. The magician urgently pleads for caution, warning the hero that recklessness endangers not only himself, but also his companions. Thinking of them, he insists, could mean the difference between victory and disaster. Fuming, Grail snaps at the mage, accusing him of causing the party's dwindling health and reminding him that recovery is his job. Her sharp words insult him, leaving the bewildered mage staring back, confounded by her attack. With a gentle but firm voice, the girl Magenteer urges the quarrelers to set aside their grievances and let peace prevail, reminding them of their strength and unity on this day of celebration. Greel advances, closing in as she curls up, terror in her eyes. Sighing heavily, he bends down and growls harsh words. Overcome by dread, she can't hold back tears, her whole body trembling with fear. Shadows cloud the young man's expression. His hand gripping her shoulder with chilling firmness, he delivers a merciless verdict. She is, in his eyes, the squad's most worthless member. At Grail's words, the girl lingers behind, eyes uncertain as she waits for his guidance. He urges her to decide for herself, noting the warrior was badly injured because she hesitated and failed to dodge in time. The young man sarcastically accuses her of depending on others' thoughts and warns with a steely glare that adventuring isn't for the timid. If she can't seize her destiny, her days are numbered. Overwhelmed, she bursts into tears. Fury across his face, the healer lunged at Grail, fingers twitching with hostility. Grail, unflinching, retorted mockingly. For a moment, veins bulged in the healer's neck as he fought the urge to grab Grail's throat. Without warning, a squad member, his face masked by a fresh bandage, stepped forward, thrusting himself between the combatants and urging everyone to stand down before tempers flared out of control. The man remarks that, at this rate, reaching any agreement is impossible. Proposing to revisit the matter another time, he leaves Grail standing in stunned confusion. Guiding the doctor toward the exit, the bandaged man offers a gentle suggestion for the young man to take a well-deserved break. In an instant, the door swings closed with a decisive slam. Fury simmered within the Grail as he wondered why he should lower his guard. Burdened with leading the squad's offense, he mastered his craft, but his inept comrades constantly risked ruining everything. Outraged, the hero blames the phantom Yos for his confusion since being forced to leave, insisting their group should have been perfect, combining his sword mastery, unmatched defense, and hawk-like vision. With a scowl, Grail hurled the toy Yos to the floor and, chest puffed with pride, declared to him the triumph of achieving a dazzling new E rank. Towering over the small doll, the hero feels triumphant. This is his destiny of glory and purpose. In a world where only victory counts, he vows to rise even higher, refusing to sink to Yus's pitiful level. Meanwhile, Nisha, Yos, and Meow ventured into an unfamiliar Level D dungeon. Towering cat sculptures and massive stone statues loomed over them, leaving the heroes awestruck by the dungeon's sheer scale and mysterious artistry. Without a moment's hesitation, a hulking troll lunges at the squad. Yost, quick-witted and steadfast behind his shield, calls out for Meow to strike. Responding instantly, the fierce feline springs into action, charging straight into the fray. Meow's clawed paws strike with razor precision, ripping a savage, gaping wound across the monster's flesh. Satisfaction flickers in the cat's eyes as he admires the damage he's dealt. The injury hardly affects the troll, which swiftly heals itself. Misha shouts for Yost to move, then hurls a blazing fireball at the monster, sending the searing sphere flying straight at the beast. Flames raged around the troll, preventing its wounds from healing as it bellowed in fury. Misha's magic empowered the hero and rallied the cats. Seeing the perfect chance, Yost readied another strike. The young man uses Battle Cry to boost his strength and resilience by 10%. With Cad and Misha's support, the trio charges together in a coordinated assault on the monstrous foe, their determination unwavering. With the troll defeated, Yost stared in disbelief at the squad's power. Misha laughed, admitting how close their victory came to madness, as flames consumed the corpse and flickering shadows fell over the stunned group. The heroes turned to the cat. Once Yos led alone but with Meow's steadfast support, the hero now seamlessly alternates between fierce offense and solid defense. Against Meow's power, the cat has little chance. Misha scooped up the cat, gazed into his eyes, and playfully asked, "Who's the cutest and strongest kitty?" As Yo watched suspiciously, wondering if the cat was normal, Meow just stared blankly, feigning innocence. The magician girl claims her cat is extraordinary, able to consciously use hidden powers, unlike Schrodinger's cat, which is just a famous experiment, uncertainly alive or dead in a sealed box until observed. With a steely glint in her eye, Misha warned Yos that any hint of hesitation would cost him this experiment. After all, the outcome hinged entirely on his willingness to believe. Gently cradling the cat, the girl fixes the hero with a steady gaze and quietly commands, "Meow Kulamach is just an ordinary cat." Mesmerized, Yosei unconsciously repeats her words, as if under a spell. Fresh information flickered onto the screen. Upon activating the skill, the hero acquired a trove of new treasures, among them a rare and radiant golden fairy ore. Misha leans in and whispers to Yos that this orphan could be worth a hefty sum. Yos asks if she knows the price for a D-class. After thinking, she estimates about 600,000 gold, leaving the hero wide-eyed in shock. Beaming with satisfaction, the mage girl declares her debts will soon vanish thanks to this windfall. Yos suggests seeking more fortune by contacting Kolamak, and Meow Meow nods in enthusiastic agreement. United by courage and determination, the brave heroes triumphed over a host of fearsome dungeon monsters, finally conquering level D as one unstoppable force. Smiling confidently, the young blonde salesman adjusted his glasses and listed his wares. Magic stones, 500k, purple incense, 700k, royal flower ore, 600k. He totaled them smoothly. The reward is 1.8 million. Astonishment flashes across Yos's face at the sight of such an astronomical sum, already surpassing 1 million. Meanwhile, Misha beams with pure delight, standing close by, radiating happiness. A bright smile spreads across the face of the fair-haired, dark-skinned worker, as he remarks how incredibly fortunate the heroes are to have discovered not one but 2 ores, a comment that leaves Yosfield blushing with embarrassment. A treasure trove of unsold loot remained in the hero's possession, untapped for skill upgrades. Just the alchemist stone, along with both the evil fairy ore and fairy ore, would fetch Yos a staggering 2.5 million. Entry to a D-ranked dungeon is limited to 7 times monthly. Toxic gases worsen deeper inside, threatening health and requiring long recovery. Given these limits, monthly earnings stay around 20 million. The tavern buzzes with travelers' chatter as Misha, seated at her table, realizes her earnings from a D-class dungeon run are enough to clear her debts. Amazement flickers across her face at how rewarding it turned out to be. Yet she realizes the true issue isn't the dungeon rank itself, but the remarkable power of Schrodinger's cat. The guarantee of a reward, or even tripling it, feels blatantly unfair. Earning such a large sum is rare, as dungeon rewards are split among 6 party members. Meanwhile, laughter and cheerful voices fill the air as the adventurers play with Meow, clearly in high spirits. With her chin nestled in her palms, radiant Misha muses dreamily about Yos's impressive annual income, 240 million. She lets her imagination wander, envisioning the adventures that await them once their debts fade into memory. The moment the debt is settled, Misha's enchantment will finally dissolve, granting them true freedom. From then on, endless adventures await as they roam the world side by side, savoring life together. Gratitude shone in the hero's eyes as he thanked the girl. With a grin, she suggested toasting to carefree days ahead. Joss, always attentive, poured a generous measure into Misha's glass without spilling a drop. 3 young men slouched at the long bar, gloomy and deliberately turned away, avoiding onlookers' stares as if determined to fade into obscurity. Inside the bustling tavern, a man with a bandaged face leaned in close to his companion, his voice low and resolute. "There's no way around it. We need to call it quits." His comrade met his gaze and nodded, silent acceptance flickering in his eyes. The 2 warriors sit in silence, heads bowed in shame, softly apologizing and admitting fault. The bespectacled healer calmly reassures them, gently insisting there's no need for guilt and everything is perfectly fine. Certain that this task should have been completed long ago, regret now weighs heavily as the price for delay becomes clear. Memories of Grail's harsh demeanor and biting words resurface in the man's mind, their sting as sharp as ever. The healer assures his companions he'll convey their message to Grail, expressing deep regret for their suffering, while a young warrior gently comforts the mage girl with soothing words to ease her distress. Bandaged arm around the healer's shoulders, the mysterious man gave a reassuring glance, urging trust. As the bartender silently refilled his glass, the sound of pouring liquid underscored the moment. Uncertainty flickers in the young warrior's eyes as he recalls past chaos and wonders if Grail will listen or bring disaster again. But the healer stands confident, armed with a new plan and unwavering resolve. With tear-streaked cheeks, the mage girl sinks onto a bar stool. Voice trembling, she turns to her companions and asks if their days as adventurers will go on, confessing her own deep desire to continue the journey. With a gentle yet resolute tone, the wise old healer encourages her to pay no mind to Grail's words. Members of their group, she assures, are welcome to join the guild whenever their hearts desire. Overwhelmed by emotion, the girl's tears flow as she quietly admits he's right. As she turns to leave, she accidentally bumps into a rushing man and, flustered and trembling, whispers a stammered apology. Out of the blue, Misha's gaze lands on her, catching the girl off guard. The young mage Matsu hadn't imagined she'd run into a familiar face in this place. With a bright smile spreading across her lips, Misha warmly welcomes her old friend. Delight sparkles in the girl's eyes at their reunion after so long. She eagerly asks if Matsu has become an adventurer. Blushing shyly, Matsu admits she has indeed set out on that path. Catching sight of Mozu's troubled expression, Misha voices her concern. Mozu, eyes shimmering with restrained tears, confesses to some recent trouble within the group, her voice barely steady as she tries to downplay the upheaval. Masu rushes into her friend's embrace, sharing a warm hug. At a nearby table, Yos, having overindulged, dozes peacefully with his head down as Meow quietly watches over him. After the girl reveals the full story to Misha, who exclaims how awful the guy is, Matsu grimly agrees, recalling how he once wounded a female warrior and describing his menacing glare and cruel features with a shudder. Fury flashing in her eyes, Misha declares the guy utterly revolting and urges they report him to the guild. Yet Matsu wavers, anxiety twisting in her gut, fearful such action could bring serious trouble down upon her own head. The girl hugs Matsu and softly promises all will be well. As the tavern grows busier with new patrons, a sharp-eyed young man spots the girls at their table amid the crowd. With a curious glint in his eye, the young man leans in and inquires whether anything noteworthy has transpired, perhaps even some juicy gossip to share. His unexpected eagerness catches the girls completely off guard. Grail enters the dungeon alone, climbing the steep stairs with determination. His unsheathed sword catches the candlelight, casting shimmering reflections on the damp stone walls as he moves onward. Monsters fall one after another beneath the hero's relentless assault, the priest's words echoing in his mind. With a single, decisive swing, another creature's head tumbles to the ground, testament to his unstoppable force. Fury over the priest's treachery sends Grail spiraling into madness, unable to comprehend that someone he trusted could so thoroughly deceive him. He recalled the man's stern warning: frequent solo dungeon trips were perilous. The toxic miasma could harm the body, no matter his will to train. Caution, not recklessness, should guide him. Yet the looming danger no longer concerns Grail. Consumed by a fervor for his own power and dominance, he basks in the intoxicating thrill of supremacy, savoring every second of his triumph. As the hero moved through the cramped corridor, uncertainty gnawed at him, a fierce inner conflict over whether to forsake his squadmates and cast them out. Resolute, Grail aims to cast aside the unworthy and claim his place among the elite, confident that his swordsmanship will make top-tier teams eager to welcome his talents into their ranks. Ultimately, remaining at the helm would only weigh him down, as the squad's weaker members lacked the strength necessary to support his leadership. Driven by confidence in his abilities, the hero sets his sights on joining a group that matches his own prowess. Within their ranks, he hopes, true and lasting friendships await. Off in the distance, Grail's keen eyes catch sight of a bustling crowd, likely fellow adventurers assembling. It looks as if 3 or 4 distinct parties have joined forces, rallying together for a daring raid on the boss. In an instant, the crowd surges forward, encircling the hero and sealing off every possible escape. Grail stands frozen, utterly bewildered by this unexpected turn of events. A priest emerges from the crowd with a man whose head is freshly bandaged and declares to the hero, "Everyone here stands as a witness." Amid the confusion, Grail struggles to understand this unexpected proclamation. Declaring a desire to keep peace within the city, the priest insists on resolving the matter right here in the depths of the dungeon, with witnesses present to ensure all unfolds transparently. Backed by Misha, Matsu, and a roaring sea of supporters, the priest and a man with a bandaged face corner the hero. Without mercy, they cast him out from the team, banishing him amidst the thunderous cries of the crowd. The plan to cast out every unproductive member crumbled into utter chaos. Grail stands frozen, gripped by sheer horror. Grail collapsed, drained by his former comrade's words. Losing his spot in the squad felt devastating and left him hollow, while those nearby stood frozen, paralyzed by the moment and unsure how to react. The hero sprang up, fist raised to strike the priest, but an unfamiliar voice stopped him. The newcomer calmly declared they had expected this, and that the hero's fame had prepared everyone for such decisive actions. Conviction fills the stranger, no doubt lingers about the decision to journey here. The young blond man before them hails from the Kara Uno clan, wielding both his sword and a formidable gift, the power to unleash intense electric discharges. The swordsman had long heard tales of Grail as a troublemaker, ignoring advice, using allies, and sowing discord, but now, defeated before him, Grail showed none of the malice those rumors described. To everyone's surprise, Mutsu revealed she was the daughter of the kingdom's famed Mage and Pupada Academy chairman. Meanwhile, Grail seemed unfazed by her lavish outfit and elite weapon, acting as if they meant nothing. The mysterious visitor, a representative of a renowned clan of adventurers, felt compelled to come to the lady's aid. In that instant, Grail realized the odds had turned against him. Duty compelled him to shield Lady Matsu, wounded as she was by a man as deranged as himself. Astonishing, truly, that the granddaughter of such a powerful figure would choose the perilous life of an adventurer. With a sneer, the youth hurls insults and banishes Grail from the city. Bewildered and lost, Grail searches the warrior's face for answers, but finds only helplessness staring back. From this moment on, every adventurer stands as the hero's adversary. The path that once led him here is forever sealed, ensuring he can never set foot in this place again. Rage burning in his eyes, Grail refuses to believe this marks his downfall in the city. Meanwhile, the hero can't help but wonder, why does everything always turn out this way? Rising from his knees, the swordsman bursts forward, eyes blazing with resolve as he lunges at the young man, attack poised and determination etched into every line of his face. No matter how often Grail falls, he always rises, unbreakable and unwavering. Now as a blond youth laughs and attacks with his sword, a long whip suddenly snaps into existence before the mysterious stranger. The whip snapped around Grail's torso and neck, sending electric jolts through him as his foe used the strong electric discharge skill, agony racing through the hero and forcing him to swallow against the burning pain. Lightning crackles along the young man's whip, jolting Grail's metal armor. The horrified crowd gasps as the warrior grins wickedly and boasts, "This is the strength of my art." Racked with excruciating pain, the hero remains defiantly upright. Surrender is not an option. Wisps of smoke already curl from his battered frame. The whip-wielding warrior stares in astonishment, clearly taken aback. Teeth clenched in fierce determination, the hero refuses to surrender as the smoke coils ever thicker around him. In Grail's mind, a single thought burns bright. He will not yield. With a fierce tug on the whip, the young man declared that rebellious dogs deserve punishment. Yet, just as the air filled with tension, the trembling priest interjected, his voice quivering as he pleaded for mercy and begged the young man to halt. Agony and overwhelming pressure engulfed Grail, causing froth to bubble from his lips as his vision blurred. Darkness crept in at the edges, and his body began to collapse, surrendering to the pain as consciousness slipped away. Uncertainty flickers across the whip-wielding man's face as he eyes the hero's mysterious foam, mistaking it for nothing more than harmless soap bubbles. Meanwhile, the Grail shatters, and with its destruction, consciousness slips away. Hands aglow, the priest kneels by the unconscious youth, murmuring a healing incantation as magic pulses through the air. Nearby, Kolomak watches intently, captivated by each subtle movement and the mysterious process. With the dungeon cleared and monsters gone, the crowd disperses. The whip-wielding man, confident Grail has learned his lesson, watches as the priest offers heartfelt thanks for his efforts. With the heroes cast out from the group, the matter could finally be laid to rest, and all those wronged by Grail found themselves appeased. Left alone in the cold dungeon silence, the young man's only companion is Solitude. The departing priest hesitates briefly, convinced that despite their disputes, Grail is honorable and has always played his part well. With a satisfied smirk, Meow gazes down at the battered vanquished hero, the message clear in his eyes, know your place. Then, turning on his heel, Meow strides away, the others following in his wake. Matsu spots the cat, gently lifts him, and Meow snuggles in, purring and nuzzling her affectionately. Warmed by his trust, her heart melts as she softly wonders where this little wanderer came from. Clarity eventually returns to Grail. Unsure how long he's been there or where the others went, he notices his carefully arranged belongings, hinting someone cared for him. Even his pain has faded, as if by a silent enchantment. Resting atop one another, the young man's sword and shield remain untouched. Grail suspects the handiwork of the priest in this arrangement, though he can't rule out the possibility that others may have lent a hand as well. Solitary and silent, Grail ascends the winding, narrow staircase that leads out of the dungeon's depths. With no destination save his own home, he moves forward, choice and hope both out of reach. Dazzling sunlight forced Grail to shield his eyes as radiant streets bustled with hurried crowds. Amid the golden throng, he stood out, lost and displaced, with no home and no clear path forward. Suddenly, a table appears covered in his photos, all stamped banned. Posters on the walls echo the message, and the air buzzes with shock and excitement. Every wall is adorned with countless images of him, frozen as if captured in the harsh glare of a lantern's beam. Disapproving eyes from passers-by follow his every move, slicing through any illusion of sanctuary. There's nowhere left to escape. He uses all his resolve to hide his true self as the weight of stares burdens him. Weary and bitter toward this place, he silently vows that these streets will never again feel his footsteps. All of Grail's money is gone, leaving him penniless and unable to afford travel or shelter. Despairing, he sinks to his knees, paralyzed by uncertainty, unaware that Meow watches him silently from a nearby rooftop. A narrow staircase leads visitors to an unassuming door, vibrant Grail portraits watching from the walls. A modest sign on the door reveals its purpose: Adventurer's Consulting Office. Sunlight floods the modest chamber, casting sharp silhouettes as an enigmatic man settles at the table. Across the room, the Grail hovers anxiously, rooted to the spot and unwilling to approach. Sporting a dignified mustache, the mature gentleman's face broke into a pleased smile as he expressed his heartfelt gratitude to the hero for bestowing upon him the honor of this visit. The man informs Grail that his assailants go by the name Rebellion Clan. Their objective is to forge connections with those entangled in this affair, as well as with the Magic Academy itself. With contacts in the Adventurers Guild and other key groups, he plans to resolve the issue swiftly and assures Grail that government funding is secured, so there's no need to worry about costs. Resolute, the man with the mustache puts an end to the vile rumors swirling around the hero, extending an unexpected olive branch, a chance to begin anew. Wordlessly, Grail absorbs his offer, his expression unreadable. The front door bursts open, revealing an unfamiliar girl standing boldly in the doorway, a shadowed man behind her. Cutting through the tension, the girl announces, "The job is complete." With a bright smile, the stranger rests her hand gently on Grail's shoulder, cheerfully assuring him that fortune is on his side now that they've arrived. He's safe at last. Beaming with newfound hope, the hero turns to his rescuers and eagerly asks if a future as an adventurer in this city awaits him. Rising from the table with quiet resolve, the man adjusted his light shirt beneath a crisp formal waistcoat. A confident smile flickered across his face as he assured Grail that, without a doubt, he could continue his life as an adventurer. Overwhelmed by emotion, the hero dropped to his knees before the man and the girl, expressing his heartfelt gratitude with trembling words. Once Grail departed, the atmosphere grew tense, marking the beginning of a weighty conversation. The man revealed that the Night Blades numbered a mere 3 members, and cautioned sternly against disrupting the designs of the Chamber of Commerce. Exhaling a plume of smoke, the girl declares, "Don't force me into pointless tasks again, even if it's just surveillance or collecting intel." Known as Rice-Tur, the girl possesses the skill of roguery. Fascinated by the little fish, she's already plotting her next move, keen to cast her bait once more. After all, isolated adventurers with no family ties make for the most tempting prey. Just a few days later, while wandering through a sun-drenched field beyond the city limits, Yos shared the good news. They had finally managed to clear Misha's debt. Joy flooded her heart. After 5 long months, freedom was finally hers. Grateful for the luck and Misha's vital connections that made selling their monster ore to the Magic Academy possible, Yos thanks the fates. The girl, eyes gleaming with curiosity, asks him what they'll do next. Burning with ambition, the hero is determined to reach adventuring's peak, aiming to master rare S-class relics and elite skills, as Meow looks at Yos with enthusiastic, admiring eyes. Spinning toward the girl, the young man invites her to join them on their journey. With a sly wink, Misha accepts his offer. Meow Kolamash, overjoyed, wags his tail enthusiastically. With the cat cradled gently in her arms, the girl strokes his soft fur. Meanwhile, Ya murmurs thoughtfully about the necessity of unraveling the enigma behind this extraordinary companion. Meow Meow responds with a resounding, spirited cry. In the busy tavern, Misha, Yos, Matsu, and Meow whispered at a worn table, plotting their future as mugs clinked. With anticipation rising, they waited only for enough coin and courage to begin the adventure they longed for. Under the table's shadow, the mage girl wistfully feeds Meow a snack, murmuring, "It's hard to say goodbye to Piptada's dungeon," as the group lingers on the D level, their journey still unfinished. With eager slurps, Matsu devours his noodles before revealing that a mighty sage once sealed off the dungeon's deepest levels. The news leaves Yos visibly taken aback, a spark of genuine astonishment flickering in his eyes. The lower depths of the dungeons brimmed with such peril that even the great sage was forced to intervene, and for decades, their mysteries remained untouched by any explorer. Beneath the table, the cat quietly indulged in its meal. Meanwhile, Grail ventured into the depths of the dungeon by himself. Though the relentless harassment from the clans had finally subsided, a suitable companion continued to elude him. Forced to stalk mice on his own now, he must gather every coin and scrap of loot he can find, rebuilding his fortune from the ground up. A goldstone for upgrading his weapon would make all the difference, too. Under the archways, Grail spots a lone youth holding a legendary blue sapphire said to destroy an area boss instantly. Beside him sits a cat with fur split between midnight black and snowy white, observing silently. Curiosity flares within the hero, eager to discover their identities. A girl in an oversized black hat steps out to stand beside the young man. Shadows cloak their faces, leaving Grail unable to discern their features in the gloom. An unfamiliar youth carves a swift path through the monsters before him, dispatching each one with enviable grace and breathtaking speed. His prowess leaves onlookers in awe, his every movement a testament to unmatched skill. With whispered spells, the mage girl conjures a searing blaze, turning monstrous remains to ash. On the heap of defeated foes, a black and white cat perches, licking its lips in satisfied delight. Lurking nearby, Grail watches 3 strangers locked in fierce combat. Their strength is undeniable, and while he dreams of joining them, doubt creeps in. His frailty would make him only a burden. The hero, awed by the squad's power and skill, yearns to match them. Meanwhile, Grail stands far from Yos, Misha, and Meow, each side just distant shadows, unable to see each other across the gap. As the adventurer readied to greet the trio and reveal his name, Hanson Grail, his hand brushed something unseen. A faint click sounded, activating a hidden mechanism and opening a concealed passageway before them. A hidden doorway opens to a steep, narrow staircase leading into darkness. Unnerving noises echo below, stirring dread and anticipation. the perfect moment for the hero to prove his true mettle before all. Deep in the shadows, Grail finds a giant statue, a regal cat with a scepter on a grand throne, its paw resting on a mysterious, oversized chest. The hero is awestruck by this unexpected discovery. Curious, the young man notices mysterious markings on the chest. Leaning closer, he finds a tangled mix of images and unreadable words, while the cat statue nearby observes with an unsettling, knowing grin. As if seized by an unearthly force, Grail throws his full weight against the chest, straining with every muscle. Suddenly, the lid bursts open with a thunderous clatter and crashes onto the floor. The bottom of the chest revealed nothing but emptiness. Disappointment clouded Grail's face as he stared into the vacant space, a curse slipping bitterly from his lips. Frustrated, the hero readied to leave in defeat when he heard a faint scuffle. From the chest, a sinister black mist rose, twisting upward and taking shape into a haunting silhouette. A swirling black cloud twisted into the form of a ram's skull, its hollow eyes glaring as a chilling voice thundered, invoking the Black Death protocol. A terrified scream ripped from the young man's throat, his features twisted in sheer panic. In her ultimate form, the fiend has a ram's skull with twisting horns atop a woman's body, massive chains writhing like serpents. The Queen of Corruption's resolve blazes. She will see the Grail destroyed. With a savage roar, the monster lunges at Grail, intent on rending him limb from limb. Panic flashes in the hero's eyes as he desperately scrambles to evade the beast's deadly grasp, fighting for his very survival. Desperation on his face, the young man scrambled back, begging for mercy, but his pleas echoed unanswered. The monstrous creature advanced relentlessly, closing the gap with every menacing step. Accepting his fate, Grail braces for the end, awed by the beast's power. The creature needs only one blow. Desperate, he raises his sword, but the monster easily knocks it from his hand with a devastating swing. The forceful blow hurls Grail into the unyielding wall. Desperate, he shouts for the priest, but no one answers. He is completely alone, his belongings scattered in disarray across the cold floor. Clutching the toy priest tightly, Grail trembles with fear, his sobs echoing in the silence. Suddenly, a voice calls his name, a sound drifting in from nowhere, leaving him bewildered and uncertain of its source. His gaze falls upon Yosis's battered toy, discarded and torn on the floor. Suddenly, the mysterious voice echoes once more, floating through the air. This time it poses a question. Do you wish to be saved? In the dungeon's shadowy corridors, an eerie noise reached Misha and Yos. The youth asked if she'd heard it too, but Misha, calm as ever, assumed it was just monsters lurking in the dark. A faint whisper seemed to carry the adventurer's name on the wind. In that same instant, Grail snatched up the toyos and clutched it with unwavering determination. Renewed hope surged within the hero, rekindling his strength. In a burst of determination, he tore the doll asunder. Only one person in the world could save him now. With a burst of frustration, Greel hurls the toy head aside and abruptly halts. The monster stands rooted to the spot, stunned by the hero's baffling maneuver. The creature's gaze sweeps over the youth, analyzing every detail. A profound shift surges within the hero's heart, chaos and emotion swirling together, raising his entropy. The database registers his unique code, PSO54TP. The monster, voice full of judgment, declares that despite Grail's sin, forgiveness awaits him. The hero stares in terror at a grotesque sight, a ram's head fused to a woman's body. In a disdainful voice, the monster calls the hero an abandoned god tainted by ancient sin. Turning to Grail, it forcefully bestows a dark blessing, searing an enigmatic black sigil onto the hero's palm, its meaning hidden in darkness. With a dismissive turn, the monster abandons the young man, its predatory gaze sweeping the room for fresh prey. The moment its eyes find Yos, Misha, and Meow, the beast vanishes without a trace, leaving Grail sprawled unconscious on the cold floor. The monster swiftly tracked the trio, its vision cryptic. Objects appeared as swirling symbols. Yos hissed at Meow Kolamochi, asking if he called his name, while Misha insisted she heard the beast's chilling roar in the shadows. Without warning, an oppressive energy surged from behind, so intense it compelled the heroes to pivot in alarm, their senses instantly on high alert. Looming before Yos and Misha, a monstrous figure emerged, a ram's head perched atop a woman's robed form. A suffocating aura radiated from her, pressing heavily into every corner of the room. The creature readied itself to strike, leaving Misha and Yos baffled by the sudden apparition before their eyes. Without warning, Meow's fur stood on end, and a fierce hiss escaped her throat, slicing through the tension in the air. With a thunderous roar, the monster unleashed an army of fiends that burst forth from the very floor and walls themselves. This formidable creature was known as Greyhound. Misha instantly recognized the monstrous figure ahead as the infamous demon Maxwell from ancient texts and legends. Though uncertainty flickered, her training prevailed. Together with Yossi, she assumed a tense, ready combat stance. With earth-shaking roars, the demon's summoned monsters surged forward. At their master's command, they lunged, encircling Meow in a tightening ring of snarling fangs and claws. With a mighty sweep of his sword, Yos shielded the black and white cat, hurling the encroaching monsters backward. No harm would befall his feline companion under his vigilant protection. Fearsome monsters stood their ground, refusing to yield. For a full minute, the hero unleashed the third-level skill, Powerful Strike, boosting physical attack power by 3%. By coordinating their assault and defense in teams of 3, the squad stands ready to handle any adversary thrown their way. Yet, even as they push forward, the demon unleashes a fresh wave of monstrous reinforcements onto the battlefield. With a resounding roar, Yos unleashed the third-level skill, Battle Cry, surging with newfound strength as his power soared by 3%. Reinvigorated, he braced himself for the clash ahead, determination blazing in his eyes. Misha conjures a fierce whirlwind and hurls a sharp stone needle at her foes, while Meow lunges with ferocious claws. Together the heroes fight fearlessly, their strength amplified by an unbreakable alliance. Demon Maxwell leaps into the air, conjuring a menacing black vortex that whirls around him, dragging Yos and Meow closer and nearly sweeping them off their feet as they fight the vortex's relentless pull. Without warning, the monster froze in place. In the next instant, an invisible force erupted from its core, hurling Yosa, Nisha, and Meow a great distance away and leaving them battered and bruised. Unwilling to concede defeat, the demon conjures fresh hordes of loyal monsters. One after another, these fearsome creatures erupt from the very ground, materializing before our startled eyes and launching a relentless assault on the heroes. The young man fought fiercely against monsters attacking from all sides, while the girl mage focused on casting her strongest spell and Kalamak hissed menacingly, fur bristling as he confronted their enemies with hostility. Dodging bullets and returning fire, the heroes burst from the suffocating corridor into open space. Yos calls out urgently, commanding the cat to fall back with them. The corridor opened up into an immense chamber, its vastness reminiscent of a gladiator's arena. Instantly, a swarm of monstrous figures surged forth, encircling Misha, Yos, and the cat, their twisted forms blocking every possible path to freedom. Back to back, the heroes refused to surrender. A faint, knowing smile flickers across Misha's lips as he surveys the dire predicament encircling them. With gratitude shining in her eyes, the girl offers her thanks. The hero assures her, unwavering, that her safety will always be his priority. Resolute in spirit, the trio steels themselves, prepared to press on and face whatever battles lie ahead. With a determined glint in her eye, Misha announces that it's her moment to step forward. She eagerly prepares to unleash her newly acquired skill. Misha unveils her latest ability, command over all 4 elements. Yos swivels toward her, a flicker of concern in his eyes, and inquires whether she can truly master its immense power. Confidence radiating from her every move, the girl calls upon the young man riding the cat to halt the oncoming horde. Fangs bared, the monsters lunge forward, ready to strike. Realization dawned on the hero as Misha's scheme became clear. In perfect sync, he and Meow readied themselves, slipping into fighting stances. The cat, bristling with anticipation, could hardly contain his eagerness to pounce. Secure in the shelter of Yos, the girl finally found a moment's peace to unleash her newfound ability. Drawing a steady breath, she focused her mind and began to weave the spell. Misha, mistress of the 4 elements, draws upon her power as a radiant magical light swirls into existence around her. The air itself stirs, rising into a dancing gale as she unleashes the beginnings of a new skill. On the first tier, individual designation U2Y367AR initiated the awakening of the celestial treasure. Activation progress, 5%. The girl announced this with a steady voice. Amidst the chaos, Meow fends off wave after wave of snarling monsters. Meanwhile, the demon Maxwell senses a shift in the battlefield. A formidable new danger has emerged. A powerful female mage whose presence unsettles even him. At Demon Maxwell's order, monsters charged to stop Misha's awakening skill, but Yos and Meow blocked them. Tension soared as Misha's power hit 50%, energy crackling in the air with only half the skill complete. Immersed in deep concentration, the girl carries on with her preparations. A radiant magical light erupts, summoning gusts that swirl wildly at her feet. The monstrous horde surged, their ranks swelling with wolves as the activation edge neared completion at 90%. Suddenly, a new fiend appeared, lunging at the vulnerable Misha with a deadly strike. With her eyes serenely closed, the girl addressed her comrades. Radiance burst forth from her staff, the dazzling light growing ever more brilliant with each passing second. Misha announces boldly that she no longer requires protection. An awe-inspiring pillar of radiant light erupts around her as the ethereal treasure in her grasp unleashes a breathtaking display of power, revealing the true extent of her abilities. Orbs of radiant light disintegrate the airborne bodies of monsters, while a blazing pillar of brilliance cuts through the seething horde, aimed unerringly at the demon Maxwell. Gripping the staff with unwavering determination, the girl channels a surge of magic, each pulse stronger than the last. The demon stands paralyzed, eyes wide in disbelief, caught off guard by the overwhelming force erupting before him. A radiant arrow streaks across the sky, weaving the four elements into a single luminous thread, a meteor born of the northern lights themselves. Confidence blazes in the girl's eyes. For her, there can be no doubt, this will be the decisive blow. An arrow forged from pure light slices through the air, trailing a winding ribbon of smoke in its wake. The chamber soon fills with a thick haze, veiling the ground, where the vanquished forms of wolf-like monsters sprawl lifelessly across the floor. Breath caught in her throat, Misha watches in tense anticipation. Through the swirling haze, the sinister horns of the demon Maxwell emerge, leaving both the girl and her companion staring in stunned disbelief. As the haze dissipates, the demon at last stands revealed. Cunningly, he had seized one of the snarling wolf beasts and wielded it as a living shield, emerging from the chaos utterly unscathed. Drained of strength, Misha collapses to her knees, clutching her staff for support. Disbelief clouds her features as she realizes the demon sacrificed his own subordinate as a living shield. As the demon readies to savor his victory, an eerie tingle spreads. His finger shimmers, then vanishes. Terror grows as he disintegrates piece by piece, horror seizing his face until he's reduced to swirling dust. The mage girl's assault struck true at last. Energized, she urged the young man to press on and keep hammering away at the demon. With a reassuring nod, Yos grasps her resolve and, without hesitation, charges into the fray. "Lean on me. Trust in my strength," he calls out, his confidence unwavering. United in determination, the adventurer and Meow surge ahead, closing in as one. Demon Maxwell, now utterly alone, finds himself cornered, his form fading rapidly, with no path left for escape. Without warning, another wolf-like beast emerges from the shadows of the wall, bearing a striking resemblance to Grail. Eyes glinting with eerie recognition, the creature slowly advances, its deep voice unmistakably calling out Yos's name. Without warning, a swift assault erupts as he bares his fangs and unleashes a menacing growl. Dark, sinister smoke coils around him, thickening the air with an ominous presence. The wolf monster lunges directly at the defenseless, utterly spent Misha. Panic floods Yos and Mia. The distance is too great. There's no way they can reach the girl in time to save her. The wolf monster charges at Misha, fangs bared and growling, ready to strike. Suddenly, a strange sign appears before the stunned Yos and Kolomak, offering hope for the endangered girl. Exhausted, the girl mage slumps onto the cold floor, her body refusing to budge another inch. The hero's urgent call rings out, snapping her back to reality, just in time to catch sight of a monster hurtling toward her at breakneck speed. Resigned to her fate, Misha's face blossomed into a radiant smile. With unwavering resolve, she declared that their paths would likely diverge here, and from this moment on, all responsibility rested solely on his shoulders. Disbelief floods Yos as he stares, his heart clinging to hope for his friend's rescue. Yet a new ominous sign materializes before him, declaring with chilling finality that all chances have slipped away. Desperately, the hero lunges toward the girl crouched on the floor, but the gap stays agonizingly wide as the wolf monster draws closer, muscles tensed, ready to make a lethal leap. Acceptance of Misha's death hovers just out of reach for the young man, resignation mingling with quiet disbelief. Eyes drifting shut, Joss struggles for solace, only to be jolted by the sudden appearance of a large sign beside him. As Schrodinger's cat levels up, its outcome stays uncertain. Nobody knows which abilities will appear. 3 options reflect the owner's will. Yost spots the elusive sword technique on the list. This could be his long-awaited chance. Realizing the strength of his desires could shape reality itself, the hero steels his resolve. With conviction burning in his heart, he claims what he needs most in this moment. Without warning, a brilliant flash split the air. The monstrous creature, mere inches from Misha, was instantly sliced in two. A swirling cloud of dust erupted, engulfing everything in its wake. In a heartbeat, a shadowy figure flashed before the girl. Mesmerized, she remained transfixed by the whirlwind unfolding around her. Awe widened her gaze as she stared at the newcomer, astonishment etched across her face. Using his new sword technique, Yas gained a permanent 1.0 power boost, each strike 10% fiercer than the last. Activating Earth Trimmer, he charged at his foe with blinding speed, shaking the ground with his momentum. Gazing at the girl he had saved, the hero declared with unwavering resolve that, after all they had endured together, he would protect her at any cost. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Misha's tears spilled freely down her cheeks. With victory in his eyes, Happy Meow's celebration is cut short by a subtle movement nearby. His startled yowl alerts Yos and Misha, and both now watch intently whatever stirs in the shadows behind them. A hulking demon with the head of a ram seized the cat in its gnarled grasp, its body spiderwebbed with countless cracks. The creature's voice rumbled low as it confessed to having observed the hero's exploits for quite some time. A look of bewilderment crosses the young men's faces as they fix their gaze on the demon Maxwell. Suddenly, realization dawns in the monster's eyes. Comprehension flickers across his features as he turns to face Yos. Recognition flickers in the monster's eyes as it discerns the hero's connection to Schrodinger's cat. With a guttural snarl, the demon hurtles forward, launching a swift and vicious assault upon the unsuspecting heroes. In one swift, nimble motion, Yusei slips me free from Colomor's grasp, severing the demon's arm and abandoning him in the shadows behind us. Rescued at last, the unique black and white cat clings tightly to its savior's chest, purring out a heartfelt chorus of meows. Meanwhile, the furious demon spins around, rage burning in its eyes. With a furious roar, the demon bellows that Yosu's power threatens to unravel the very fabric of reality, already tearing at space and time itself. Meanwhile, Misha and the hero, poised and resolute, prepare to launch their assault. The monster's roar grows deafening, demanding the successor to the young man's Schrodinger and Omega's minion. Yost looks puzzled, struggling to understand, while Meow Kolomak eyes the demon with suspicion and intrigue. The demon's thunderous roar shakes the walls, declaring they no longer belong to their world and that resistance is futile. United by fear and resolve, the heroes huddle close, shielding the trembling cat at their center. Cradling the cat close to her chest, Misha's gaze shimmers with concern for her friend. Yet with unwavering resolve, the hero flashes a reassuring grin, boldly declaring that all is well and triumph is already within his grasp. Lifting its monstrous head, the demon unleashed another earth-shaking roar, signaling the onset of a fresh assault. The beast's intent was clear. It would reduce everything to ashes, determined to annihilate them on the spot. Without warning, the ram-headed demons conjured countless swords from the walls. Using the severed hand Yost took, the creature menaced him with the blades, clearly aiming to force the heroes to retreat. The gleaming blades multiplied, their threat growing as the young man shut his eyes, focusing all his energy to shield himself. With a thunderous roar, the demon unleashed them, bent on returning the world to endless darkness. With his unmatched, peerless blade skill, Yaz effortlessly deflects all sword attacks against himself or allies, turning straight-line defenses into relentless counterattacks in the heat of battle. Sliced into fragments, the demon's remnants warn. Reality warps, corruption spreads, and such blight must end for the world to survive. With those chilling words, its ram skull splits, signaling an ominous end. As the final breath leaves his fallen foe, Yoshe stands over him with unwavering resolve, declaring his sole desire to shield his friend Misha from harm. Memories of joyful days shared with her flood the hero's mind. If this perilous power is the only way to shield her from harm, he will not hesitate, no matter what fate holds in store for them. A sudden chime echoed, bringing news that Yoso's skill, Schrodinger's cat, had ascended to level 4. Upon reaching level 4 of the Schrodinger's cat skill, the ability to instantly extract and store up to 32 items of your choosing during a search becomes yours to command. After returning, Yos, Misha, and Meow reported their battle with the ram-headed beast to the Adventurers Guild, which, impressed by their bravery and victory, awarded them the title Heroes of Pip-Tat. Ina, recently dubbed Schrodinger's cat by the demon, grew more mysterious. Jealous and curious about the link to her skills, the hero sought answers from Meow, who just showed his belly, giving no explanation. In the midst of all this, Misha completed her dissertation, Maxwell's Demons, and triumphantly defended it before the scholarly council of the Pip-Tat Institute of Magic. Bidding farewell to Pip-Tat, the heroes set out, undaunted by the mysterious, uncertain path ahead. Led by Yos's confident belief in future happiness, they pressed on with hope and anticipation for new adventures. Along a winding, narrow road, a modest cart trundles steadily toward a humble bridge. Towering mountains loom in the distance, while an expansive field stretches far beyond the path ahead. By the carriage window, a stranger reads a crisp newspaper featuring a striking front-page photo of a young man, a magician girl, and a cat. Bold headlines hail them as heroes, their names prominently displayed. Reister, a girl with an air of indifference, flips open the newspaper and resumes reading. Slouched comfortably, she exudes an unmistakable aura of boredom. Reister sees an article on the dungeon with a striking photo of Grail, who broke the G-tier seal. Bold letters announce the D-dungeon is fully sealed by guild order due to a critical shortage of adventurers. The article features Grail, who claims his ordeal was a misunderstanding and his dismissal unfair, expressing deep gratitude for the unwavering support shown by his colleagues during his time at the office. Sitting close, twins Rister and Gilthey shared a quiet moment. Rister joked her sister faced a tough task auditing adventurers, but Gilthea, calm as always in her Chamber of Commerce role, said someone had to do it right. With a gentle turn, Gilthea faces Grail, seated across from her. A spark of anticipation lights her gaze as she reveals their destination, a journey bound for Flast, the city nestled at the very foot of the towering Desetsu mountain range. Local allies must be drawn in to share the excitement. During the Grail, her ambition is to ascend and uncover every secret about the guild and its adventurers. Each one in their midst conceals a hidden purpose behind this clandestine mission. A warm smile spreads across the hero's face as he gazes at the girl, hope rising. Thanks to Reister, he can now pursue adventure, serve the greater good, and find his place in the world, achieving both dreams at once. Gilthey, curious, asks Grail if he's seen today's newspaper. He dismisses it, saying newspapers aren't his thing. Baffled, she asks how he adventurers given that newspapers are the only source of news and knowledge in this world. Gripping the restored Yossi toy, the hero can't help but wonder about his old comrade, where fate has carried him, and what path he now walks. With Grail's schemes already in motion, Yossi will need to be prepared for whatever comes next. Lost in thought, Grail ponders the sisters as Rister reminds him this still counts as work. Beneath it all, he's just a pawn in the Chamber of Commerce's weapon experiments. Overhead, a massive dragon casts its shadow on the land. High above, a colossal dragon soars through the clouds, its massive wings slicing the sky. Clutched firmly in its powerful claws dangles a ship, swaying precariously as the beast carries it aloft. Massive claws clasp the transport ship, suspending it effortlessly in the dragon's grip. With a bright grin, Misha declares their skyward journey to be first class. Yoseg chuckles in agreement, adding that at this speed, they'll arrive in no time. A while later, the young man lingered alone on the deck, the demon's warning echoing in his mind, that Meow was a peril destined to bring ruin to the entire world. Without warning, Misha and the cat burst onto the deck. With a curious tilt of her head, the girl demanded to know why Yos lingered there by himself, then ordered me to leap onto the hero. In a flash, the cat pounced and sent him sprawling. With a spark of inspiration in her eyes, the girl shifts her gaze to the young adventurer, while the black and white cat contentedly curls up on his chest, purring softly. Misha confides in Yos, admitting a multitude of dreams she longs to pursue, yet confessing that countless worries linger in her mind. She remarks that perhaps he's finally managed to relax. Sitting on the deck by the dragon's huge talon, the girl's eyes shone with anticipation as she spoke excitedly of the possibilities ahead, and the hero, equally thrilled, nodded in full agreement. With a wistful sigh, the mage girl expresses her craving for marble crab, sparking a journey northward. Unbeknownst to them, a mysterious stranger peeks over the edge of his newspaper, eyes quietly tracking their every move. Piercing eyes scan the blue firebird's shining armor and the mysterious mage atop the feline companion. Curiosity piqued, the stranger asks, "Are you adventurers from Pip-Tat?" The heroes exchange glances and nod. With unwavering grace, the dragon soared steadily along its charted course, effortlessly bearing the ship laden with passengers in its powerful grasp. With a glimmer of excitement, the man reveals that the article celebrates extraordinary newcomers who vanquished an ancient evil. As recognition dawns in his eyes, he marvels at the uncanny serendipity of their encounter in this very place. The stranger strides in, glancing over his shoulder to relay tales of the legendary heroes of Pip-Tat to his companions. Misha and Yosa trail behind, bewilderment etched across their faces as they try to make sense of this unexpected introduction. The hero is drawn to the man, recognizing his short brown hair, classic armor shining in the sun, and his flight alongside them on a dragon, all of which triggers a strong sense of déjà vu in the hero's memory. Astonishment flickers across Yosa's face. The possibility that his hunch is correct seems almost unbelievable. Just then, the hero spots two more figures emerging from the shadowy confines of the cabin. Before the hero, three figures stand, the formidable Twilight Blade team, half of the six arrayed against him now. On the right, a young man answers to the name Daryl, while beside him stands Iris, a poised and vigilant girl. Philard, the group's leader, greeted the young adventurers with a warm, reassuring smile. At level 73, he was a seasoned veteran, renowned for his mastery of the light blade skill. The Twilight Blade, young adventurers famed for their daring exploits, were legends. As a student, Yosid admired them from afar, longing for just one chance to witness their heroics in person. Billowing clouds swirl above and before the heroes on the deck. Fillard notes they've entered a region dense with high-altitude clouds and suggests they move indoors to continue their conversation. Sunlit and spacious, the room invites conversation with its comfortable tables and sofas. Fillard recalls dismissing the news article as a hoax, finding it unbelievable that inexperienced newcomers could achieve such a feat. Curiosity shines in the man's eyes as he eagerly awaits seeing Yosa's skills and looks forward to showing his own. The master's praise genuinely delights him, making him feel honored and uplifting his spirit. Filler proposes an intriguing idea, a competition for the young man to consider. Meanwhile, Meow gazes out a grand window, eyes alight with fascination as flocks of birds dance across the sky. Mentioning that he and his team would be disembarking in the city of Flast, the man graciously offered to accompany them, explaining that rare monsters tended to emerge during this season. Wearing a cheerful grin, Fillard invites the heroes to test their skills against Largolan's formidable ice guard. Yos Misha and Meow exchange puzzled glances, their eyes darting toward the man in utter confusion. Brilliant sunlight bathes snow-covered city streets as children laugh and toss snowballs, cheeks flushed with excitement, while a proud snowman surveys the scene, his coal eyes twinkling in the winter light. Narrow alleyways lie blanketed in pristine snow, utterly deserted. Far beyond, majestic mountains loom, their peaks glistening under a snowy mantle. Bathed in brilliant sunlight, a towering statue commands attention. A mustached man adorned with a crescent moon-embellished helmet radiates an air of noble grandeur. Towering atop his steed, the statue captures a warrior clad in light armor. Set against the soaring mountains, his noble silhouette radiates an even grander majesty. Meow gazes upon the scene, utterly enthralled by its splendor. Bundled in warm winter clothes, Yosun and Misha entered lively fast. Yosun beamed with joy at reaching the city, while Misha stared in awe at the snow covering the ground, amazed it was summer. Each step plunges the black and white cat's paws deep into the frigid snow, eliciting a plaintive meow of protest from the disgruntled feline. With a startled meow, the cat leaps onto Misha's back. She gently scoops him into her arms, tucking him beneath her clothes to shield him from the chill he so dislikes. Striding ahead of the group, Filler suddenly spins on his heel, waves a hand, and urges everyone to head over to the local adventurers guild with him. Through the snow-blanketed streets, two bands of adventurers stroll side by side, their laughter and cheerful banter ringing out and warming the winter air. The Adventurers Guild fills a vast chamber centered on a grand spiral staircase. Bustling tables buzz with talk, cats lounge along railings, and amid the chatter, tales spread of an icy sentinel called Largo Lin. According to him, named monsters are a rarity, surfacing only in extraordinary situations. Largolin, for instance, emerges among the frozen summits of Frast, but only when the warmth of summer melts the highland snows. Classified as a B-class creature, this monster's formidable ice armor boosts its defense to rival that of an A-class threat, making it a formidable opponent. Its signature ability, Snowfall, adds yet another layer of danger to the battlefield. Largolin is immune to damage unless attacked with power above its 1688 defense, a rule that can't be bypassed. Yosu's 1172 attack falls short, but the team refuses to surrender and is already devising a clever strategy. Without warning, Misha recites a stirring poem of unmatched strength, a lone hero defending the king and queen against hundreds. Yet even such valor ends when a single treacherous blade strikes from behind. Yost gazes at Misha in confusion, unable to grasp the meaning behind her words. With a gentle smile, Misha offers an explanation, revealing that she speaks of Largolin's song. The cityscape of Philadelphia unfolded, its historic charm blending seamlessly with the pulse of modern life. The song says a monster can be slain by a blade in its back. Largolin's back armor has a huge gap, making it his weakest spot, where his defense drops drastically to just 488, leaving him dangerously vulnerable. Aware of his limits, Yosei knew he couldn't handle Class A or B monsters yet. He chose to watch Filler and the others fight from a safe distance, preferring to observe rather than risk direct involvement. Inspired, the young man realizes clever tactics may defeat the monstrous foe. Fillard turns to the heroes, eager for their input, noting that the challenge is growing even more intriguing. At the very moment Largillin stirs from sleep, the snowfall defense system bursts into action. The falling snow serves as the unmistakable signal. As strategies and battle tactics for vanquishing the monster swirl through lively debate, a golden energy electrifies the atmosphere of the adventure. The Twilight Blade Squad's formidable trio stands resolute, declaring that vanquishing a rare monster is an honor reserved for the worthy. With pride burning in their eyes, they make it clear, no special treatment will be given to outsiders. Brimming with anticipation, Misha and Meow step up to display their true skills. Meanwhile, the cat sprawls lazily, soaking in the comforting warmth. Out of nowhere, a pair of unfamiliar girls approach the table, curiosity gleaming in their eyes. The girls, eyes wide with amazement, stare at Filard in disbelief, excitedly pushing notebooks for autographs. Flushed and fidgety, Filard blushes, overwhelmed by the unexpected attention and unsure how to respond. Out of nowhere, an unfamiliar young man strides up to Misha and Yos, his expression earnest yet apologetic. With a small bow, he introduces himself as Osun and quickly explains his regret for interrupting their conversation so abruptly. With unwavering confidence, Osun proclaims that his group will soon vanquish Nemad, and for that reason, they'd be delighted to join forces. Yos, however, finds himself speechless, uncertainty clouding his thoughts as he struggles to respond. Osun and the heroes, surrounded by overflowing mugs, debated their next move amid laughter, while mage girls gathered protectively around Fillard. Spotting Yos, Misha smiled and said, "He certainly seems in good spirits tonight." Propped up on her hands atop the table, the girl flashes a teasing grin at her friend, remarking how adorable he becomes when happiness lights up his face. A playful meow meow chimes in, sealing her words with feline approval. Mugs held aloft, a band of spirited young adventurers toast exuberantly, their laughter and lively voices ringing out as they celebrate the promise of triumph yet to come. Grail and his companions finally arrive in the lively city of Frast. Excitement fills him at the new sights, but even among the busy streets anxiety persists. He grips his Toyos tightly, concern dimming his joy. Amidst the bustling crowd, Rister stands quietly when a hooded stranger slips through the throng and leans in to murmur something to her. With a gentle yet resolute voice, the girl announces that this is where their journeys part ways. Grail, caught off guard by her words, spins around to face her, astonishment flickering in his eyes. The twin sisters inform Grail of their absence from the guild, assuring him they'll reunite soon. As they depart, the hero lets out a weary sigh, his disappointment unmistakable as he watches them go. Recalling his instructions, the young man knows that once the local allies unite with their cause, every shadowy figure and suspicious whisper must be reported without delay. In this new world, the chance to embark on an adventurer's journey from the very beginning awaited him. Nerves fluttered in his chest as he lingered by the tavern's entrance, anticipation and uncertainty warring within. Upon entering the guild, Greel is greeted by a genial young man named Osan, who steps forward with a warm smile and offers a handshake to the hero. Surprised by the unexpected warmth, the young man finds himself surrounded by cheerful girls, all busy playing with cats. Their faces light up in delight at his arrival. Relief washed over Osan upon seeing Grail arrive unharmed. Rumors of bandit raids had been circulating in the area. Once a tranquil haven, the village had become a hotbed of turmoil, overrun by Largolin hunters who transformed peace into pandemonium. Curiosity sparked within the hero at the mention of the monster. Osan went on to explain that just the day before, he had encountered Mr. Fillard, and even the formidable Twilight Blades now hunted relentlessly for Largolin. A pang of envy flickers within Grail as he watches the young man, longing for a glimpse of the legendary Twilight Blade Squad himself. Deep down, he clings to the belief that he alone is destined to become this world's true hero. Osan warns the hero that their presence in the guild isn't an option. The dark-skinned girl's impressive stature looms nearby, while the blonde leans in, suggesting they could meet again later. Grail's mind snaps back to his assignment. The moment he discovers locals who share his ideals, he must immediately relay any rumors or suspicious individuals. Faced with the necessity to begin anew, the hero seeks to purge himself of past flaws and rise as a nobler soul. The priest's cautionary words reverberate in his mind, urging restraint and self-control. With a cheerful grin, the young man remarks that fencing skills alone are worthless without proper knowledge to wield them. He promises to lend his utmost assistance, all the while the hero quietly cradles a toy priest in his hands. A hush falls as everyone eyes Grail. He winks, breaking the silence. Relief and gratitude mix with lingering skepticism. "Thanks for your help," someone says, voice wavering between doubt and hope. "Let's tackle this together." Amid quiet celebration, the hero and Austin share a well-earned drink as satisfaction glimmers in Grail's eyes. Triumph has settled comfortably, and the hero's first steps in this new place have blossomed into success. At the same time, Misha sinks into a steaming bath, letting the soothing heat melt away the fatigue of her long journey. Billows of fragrant steam swirl through the room, wrapping her in a cocoon of gentle warmth. Deep in thought, Yost sat in the living room, mind racing for a way to bring down Largolin. Just then, Misha emerged from her bath, a fresh vitality in her step as she joined him. Determined, the girl tells her comrade their path is clear. The decoys must distract the monster completely while they strike from behind. Uncertain, Yost turns to her and asks if it will just be the two of them. As the heroes contemplate bringing Meow Mochi along, uncertainty lingers. After all, expecting a cat to grasp their daring strategy seems optimistic at best. With impeccable timing, Meow tugs gently at Misha's shirt, capturing her attention. Yost seeks advice from the cat, who responds with indifference by rolling over and exposing his belly. Realizing the mission is too dangerous alone, Yost understands they must recruit another ally. Determined to find a new ally, the young man and Misha headed straight for the guild. They posted a notice hoping to recruit a brave soul, yet their quest seemed doomed. No one dared volunteer to challenge Largolin, let alone risk becoming his bait. Misha slumps over the table, sorrow weighing heavily on her shoulders, while Meow rests beside her, equally dispirited. Meanwhile, Yos scans the room with determined eyes, still clinging to a thread of hope as he searches for a companion. A short, mustachioed man, with a colorful parrot on his shoulder, warily tells the hero that finding bait is impossible. No sane person would try. The young man fidgets awkwardly, cheeks flushed with embarrassed nerves. The man leans in conspiratorially, claiming he once heard of a fellow who toppled Largalin with a single crushing strike. Yos's eyes widen in disbelief, astonished by the sheer audacity of the tale. The backstab skill grants a deadly edge when a master assassin slips silently behind an unsuspecting foe and delivers a well-placed strike. The attack delivers a unique bonus, often resulting in an instant, lethal takedown. As he nursed his drink, the man remarked with awe that someone had managed to slay Largalin with a single devastating strike to the back. Yo, intrigued, pressed him to repeat the incredible tale. With a dismissive wave, the man turns away, saying Yos should hire assassins, not just bait. No one could kill such a monster alone. He warns this isn't about teamwork, but a test of individual skill. Yos remains rooted to the spot, frozen in place. Cradling the cat gently against his chest, Misha speaks to him in a low voice. Spinning on his heel, the hero's eyes spark with excitement as he announces a change of strategy. Declaring himself a ninja, he insists that a silent, decisive strike is the perfect counter against Largalin. When it comes to advanced skills, Schrodinger's cat lets you make the choice yourself. Unlocking backstab, however, requires a fresh specialization. Soon enough, the heroes find themselves standing at the counter. Behind the counter stood a stunning young woman, her smile radiant as she announced the fee for changing one's specialization, 50,000 gold. Misha's eyes sparkled at the prospect, already thrilled by the idea of transforming her own skills. The girl behind the counter entices customers with a practiced smile as Meow gently taps her hand for attention, while Misha, carefree and fearless, dreams of wielding an axe, having chosen the wild berserker's path. Yos quickly changed class to assassin, mastering backstabbing, while Misha struggled, uneasy with her sword. Equipment had strict limits, only swordmasters could use such weapons, so going unarmed wasn't an option for them. With a playful glint, Misha tried on outfits of a warrior, hunter, priest, assassin, healer, and even a typical player. Watching her, Yos smiled and said each role suited her perfectly. The girl, eyes determined, raises her axe to swing as the young man urgently pleads for her to stop, while the girl behind the counter calmly watches, awaiting the outcome of the tense moment. Hidden in a nearby corner, the mustachioed man, Yaspok's old acquaintance, watches closely and softly urges the Piptat heroes on, but his whispered encouragements are lost in the bustling air. The man steps into the cool evening, strolling serenely down a narrow, deserted street under a luminous full moon that bathes the tranquil, empty path in silvery light, with no one else around. Down a shadowy alley, an unexpected figure catches his eye, a girl brandishing a sword high above her head, poised to strike a man. A surge of horror floods through the hero at the sight. A massive sword crashes into the earth, just missing its mark as the man springs out of harm's way. He looks up, eyes widening with recognition. The assailant stands revealed as a familiar face from the Chamber of Commerce. The girl attacks fiercely, her weapon slicing the air. The man dodges nimbly, leaping to safety. Suddenly, Rister appears behind him, sharply demanding if this is the intruder hiding among them. Ristar delivers a devastating strike, his broad blade driving mercilessly through his foe. From behind, she thrusts her weapon, sinking it deep into his back. A gush of blood fills the man's mouth as he collapses face first onto the earth. Crimson stains spread rapidly across his clothing, and droplets of blood splatter in every direction. The hero realizes he was struck by no ordinary weapon, but by the red barrel, hinting at dark sorcery. Struggling to rise, he mutters about the magic as the girl looks down and watches him intently. Summoning the remnants of his strength, the dying man implores the twin sisters to reveal their purpose in this forsaken place. A shadow sweeps across Raisler's face, his expression growing somber. Fury blazing in her eyes, the girl lashes out with a swift kick, landing it squarely on him. "You're way too loud," she snaps, adding with a smirk. "We've squashed you as flat as a fish." Her scolding persists, laced with exasperation as she declares her exhaustion from tolerating his kind. Meanwhile, Gilthiel observes the scene with a detached gaze, calmly informing her sister that blood splatters will only ruin her shoes. In a faint, trembling whisper, the man warns that the twilight blades have already begun their advance. Words struggle to escape his lips, but exhaustion overwhelms him, and his speech dissolves into a confused murmur. Peering down at the man, the twin sisters exchange glances as a stream of garbled words tumbles from his lips. With a raised brow, Raster voices her confusion, scoffing, "What on earth is he muttering? It hardly sounds like any language at all." Under the pale full moon against the black sky, the girls seem even more menacing. Ristra's probing gaze reminds him they still dominate. Both sisters are intimidating level 81, with formidable attack and nearly unbreakable defense. Right now, Grail revels in laughter and camaraderie, toasting with his newfound companions. A seasoned swordsman standing at level 16, he basks in the warmth of friendship and the thrill of the moment. Yosun and Misha embraced new destinies, Misha stepping boldly into the role of a warrior, while the young man embarked on the perilous path of an assassin. Despite his ambition, he started at the very first level. The seasoned filler, together with his squad, huddled to devise a plan against the looming monster. Despite reaching level 73, his strength still fell short of Rester's formidable power. The sisters tower above the rest in strength, fully aware of the fact. Confidence radiates from them. No one, they believe, can withstand the fury of their flashing blades. Perched atop a tall chair, Meow surveyed the busy room as a group of female adventurers approached. Behind him, Grail chatted animatedly. The girls called out, but Kalamak replied with an aloof meow, not even looking. Yosun Misha stands poised behind the black and white cat, murmuring for him to leave. Alert to the sound, the cat swivels its ears, catching every whispered word. As the horned girl strokes Meow Kalamak's sleek fur and calls him handsome, his eyes gleam with pleasure. The heroes look away, their attention elsewhere, while Grail remains absorbed in his companion. Unaware of one another's presence, the estranged friends slip into separate corridors, each heading for a different exit. Meanwhile, the girl softly bids the cat farewell. Just before departing, the cat pauses and glances back. Grail and the horned girl head down one path, while Misha and Yasko choose another, their fates diverging without a single glance exchanged between them. Brimming with inspiration, the Grail inquires about their upcoming mission. Osun, with a determined gleam in his eye, reveals that their next challenge lies in bringing the forest goblins under their control. Eyes sharp as ever, the hero's antlered companion catches sight of his battered shield. With a playful grin, she points out just how worn and weary it appears. With a donut wedged between his teeth, Grail swivels toward her, assuring her it's all good. He wasn't planning on using it anyway. As snow swirls, the hero squad battles cunning forest goblins in the woods. Weapons flash in the icy air as a young man boldly leads, fearlessly forging ahead and carving a path for his companions through the chaos. With unyielding determination, the hero lunges forward in a burst of raw energy, convinced that triumph lies just ahead if this momentum continues. A sharp call from Osun rings out, urging him to rein in his reckless advance and reminding him not to neglect his defense. Grail acknowledges the warning with a nod and comes to a halt. As the skirmish raged, goblins and bandits fell to the squad's relentless assault. Amid the chaos, a fierce girl surged forward and smashed her spiked knuckle into a bandit's face, sending him reeling. In a heartbeat, a forest goblin sprang from the shadows, lunging at the helpless healer girl. Before she could even raise a hand in defense, Grail swept in, his sword flashing as he dispatched the creature with swift precision. A heartfelt prayer unlocks the girl's healing magic. Grateful to the hero, she thanks him sincerely. The young man, puzzled by her hesitation, feels compassion and rushes to save his companions. The captured bandits, once bold adventurers now reduced to criminals, were paraded through the city as Osun, holding a hefty reward bag, felt the weight of victory in his hands while their fate was sealed. Grail shudders as he looks at the bound men, dreading being in their place. The bald bandit oddly resembles Yos, and Grail fears that, unless he changes, he could suffer the same fate. Kneeling gracefully before the bound thieves, the healer girl implores them to seek forgiveness for their misdeeds. Time passes, and in a lively tavern's warm glow, Raster greets Grail with a grin, eyes bright with delight. Approaching earnestly, Grail asks for his skilled help to install a mysterious contraption she can't handle alone. The equipment will allow for early detection of dangerous monsters. However, since the location is quite remote, the devices still haven't been set up. Osent reveals to Raster that the Duskblade Guild has been conducting extensive research in this area lately. Driven by their determination to bring down Largolin, their efforts have been tireless. The news leaves Raster genuinely astonished. With a sudden motion, the girl rises to her feet, her grip tightening around a glass. "See you all tomorrow," she calls out, already turning on her heel as she strides away. Once the girl found herself alone, her grip tightened around the glass until it shattered in her hands, sending its contents splashing to the floor as a bitter curse against the Twilight Blade Squad escaped her lips. Ristar vents her frustration, declaring that she's fed up with lingering in this village. Each passing moment only fuels her irritation. Gilthea, attempting to diffuse the tension, gently urges her sister to compose herself. With arms wrapped tightly around her sister, the girl whispered that they were just a few steps away from reaching their dream. Exhaustion overtook her, and she let her head droop warily. Gilthea assures her twin sister that once all preparations are complete, success is inevitable. With quiet resolve, the sisters press their palms together in a gesture of unity. With a soothing tone, the sister assures the girl that they'll handle everything with precision and grace, urging her to stay calm. Unconcerned with the fate of these unworthy souls, the girl gazes toward distant mountains draped in snow. Tranquility reigns in the village below, undisturbed and serene. Darkness blankets the city as night descends. High above, three shadowy figures drift across the starlit sky, a young man, a girl, and a cat, their outlines etched against the moonlit canvas. Cloaked by the cover of night, the squad slips soundlessly into the room. With a hushed whisper, the young man announces their success. They have infiltrated the guild. Seated at the table, Osun observes how much has changed since Grail's arrival. Their victories are evident. The girl agrees, praising Grail's skill and character, noting he is off training alone again, even now. The girl points to the young man's battered shield, saying its scuffs prove he always protected others, a testament to his humanity. As her words linger, Yo quietly slips into the room, initially unnoticed. Out of nowhere, a white cat catches sight of him. In an instant, the hero and Meow find themselves spotted by the feline onlookers, and now, escape is their only option. Yos, Misha, and Meow dash forward as a formidable squad, their movements a blur of agility and purpose. Each hero now dons freshly upgraded gear, their new classes imbuing them with an aura of renewed power and unshakable confidence. With mischievous grins, the heroes launch a mock assault on the girl's stall, where she peddles her coveted clash change gear. Curious guild adventurers gather nearby, watching the lively scene unfold with amused anticipation. Osun leans over the counter to catch the girl's attention. Amused, he says, "Looks like we've swapped places. I'm getting a bit spoiled." His eyes widen as he adds, "Even Misha's in a new class now?" Yos moved silently through the shadows, eliminating foes and embodying a true ninja. Upon reaching Schrodinger's Cat Tier 3, 3 skill branches appeared, each offering abilities to define their journey. With careful deliberation, the hero selected the essential skills: Deadly Force, Dual Blade Mastery, Shadowy Assassination, and the Art of Striking from Behind. Possessing top-tier weapons made the path to acquiring these abilities far less arduous. Philard strides up to Yo, scanning him closely before breaking the silence with a question about their current situation. In response, the hero explains that every possible preparation has been made for the impending clash with Largolin. Spinning around, the young man scans the area for Misha and Meow, yet only emptiness meets his gaze. The pair has vanished without a trace. Dressed as a black and white cat, the girl sought adventure, while Misha splurged 1,000,000 gold on a mystical exorcism cloak and spring-loaded jumping boots during an extravagant shopping spree. Together they glide soundlessly over Fraz City's rooftops, shadows merging in the moonlight. At this moment, they are true ninjas, unseen and united. With swift, practiced movements, Misha and Meow slipped inside the building. Their covert entry unfolded flawlessly. Two heroes gliding through the shadows, their mission advancing without a hitch. Before her stretches a vast, vacant chamber, its battered walls speaking of years of neglect. In that instant, Misha realizes she has wandered into an abandoned warehouse. To Misha, trespassing feels like crossing a forbidden line, a crime that makes her anxious. Staring at the abandoned building, she's unsure if rules matter when no one's left, her heart racing with fear of being caught. Venturing further into the building's depths, the girl stumbles upon an enormous, cauldron-like construct. To her astonishment, Misha soon realizes that this peculiar object is actually a red barrel. Without warning, Raster materializes at her side. The sudden encounter leaves both girls staring in astonishment, each baffled by the other's unexpected presence. Rister's voice echoes sharply as she confronts Misha and Meow. Eyes narrowed, she demands to know how the girl learned of the elusive red barrel. Without hesitation, the girl lunges at Misha, her blades flashing menacingly. In a heartbeat, Misha conjures a shimmering barrier, effortlessly deflecting Ristra's assault as blade after blade clatters harmlessly against the magical shield. The girl collapses to the ground, caught off guard by the sudden assault. Meow arches her back and hisses furiously from her lap, protective and fierce. Looming over them, Restore readies himself for a second strike, menace gleaming in his eyes. Blades flashing with relentless fury, the girl unleashes a storm of crushing strikes, each one fueled by the burning desire to utterly obliterate Misha and Meow. Each powerful strike sends cracks scurrying across the barrier, filling Meow with terror. Meanwhile, from the sidelines, Gilthea observes the unfolding battle with keen interest. As the girl read tales of a daring adventurer, Misha, a D-rank from remote Piptat with subtle elemental magic, Gilthea was surprised, never expecting anyone else to know of this hidden place. With a sudden leap, Meow bursts out from behind the barrier, instantly diverting Ristar's focus. Without missing a beat, she presses her relentless assault on Misha. With a wild cry, the girl lunges at the cat, determination in her eyes, but agile Meow dodges every blow, weaving like a shadow. The black and white feline crouches, muscles tensed and claws gleaming, ready to counterattack. With a sudden leap, Meow drives a hard punch into Ristar's abdomen. The attack lands with brutal precision, drawing a sharp spatter of blood. Staggered and wide-eyed, the girl reels in shock, her balance slipping away beneath her. Terror paralyzes Misha, rendering her motionless. The black and white cat, bewildered, struggles to make sense of the chaos. With swift precision, Ristar launches a counterattack. Fueled by fury, Ristar unleashes a devastating strike against Meow, launching the unfortunate cat high into the air and hurling her far from reach. Misha's eyes widen in horror, tears streaming as the black and white cat collapses. Nearby, the girl shrugs coldly, insisting the little creature was just underfoot. In this world, harm only befalls those whose defense falls short of an assault. At Misha's feet, Meow remains utterly still, unmoving in silent defeat. Ristar silently hopes the cat meets a swift end. The law governing the balance of attack and defense indicators stands firm, unyielding, and absolute. Blades trained on Misha, the girl lowers her eyelids, surrendering to fate. Shimmering steel catches the light, reflecting the tears streaming down her cheeks. In silent resignation, she braces herself for the end that surely awaits. Without warning, a man materializes before her, effortlessly parrying Ristar's strike as he positions himself protectively in front of Nisha. Philord rushed to her side. In his wake, a girl sits weeping on the ground, cradling a motionless cat in her arms. Cloaked in the room's dim shadows, Reister stands silently, while her sister Gilthea perches atop a stack of mysterious crates just behind her. Both girls remain utterly still, as if frozen in time. Astonishment flickers across Reister's face as she glances at Philord, whose expression has grown stormy with rage. From beneath lowered brows, her twin regard the man with a glare sharp enough to cut. The girl let out a fierce roar upon seeing Philord. Gilthea, startled by the unexpected visitor, called it foolish to come alone. Glancing at her sister, she announced it was time to get to work. Without meeting Misha's gaze, you press the magic potion into her hands, murmuring instructions to deliver it to the black and white cat. Tension crackles in the air as the man locks eyes with the twin sisters, every muscle bracing for the fierce battle about to erupt. Fillard demands to know if they're with the Bureau. The girls quickly step forward, determined to stop any chance of them meeting with Largolin. Restore informs him that Largolin is under the Bureau's protection, delivering a stern warning to steer clear and not interfere with their affairs. Blade poised, Yolthea prepares to strike, eyes locked on her target. Suddenly, Rister leaps in, twin swords flashing as he swiftly deflects her attack, his blades clashing with hers in a shower of sparks. Gilthea swung her broadsword with breathtaking force, the blade slicing through the air toward her foe. Yet, with practiced agility, the seasoned adventurer slipped aside just in time. Even for one so skilled, the attack came perilously close. Encircling their target, the girls taunt him, declaring resistance to be a lost cause. One of them readies herself to deliver another fierce blow. Triumph sparkles in the twins' eyes as they prepare to revel in their hard-won success. Backed into a corner, Fillard acknowledges that all options have vanished. With a resigned determination, he decides to unleash his secret technique. With seasoned confidence, the adventurer prepares to unleash his signature move, Trample, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. In a sudden blur, Yosu materializes before him, intercepting Rice just as Guilty launches a furious assault from both flanks. Swords gripped firmly in each hand, Yosu stands as an unyielding shield, masterfully fending off attacks from either side. Outraged by his sudden arrival, the twin sisters glare, their fury unmistakable. Meanwhile, Filler stands frozen in astonishment, unable to believe what just happened. Whirling to face the man, Yos exclaims at his astounding speed, his features a blur. Eager for praise from Misha, Yos's heart swells as he combines detection skill and sword mastery, keen perception fused with sharp technique. A girl, sobbing on the ground, clutches her wounded black and white cat and desperately pours a magic potion on its fur, hands shaking with hope and fear as darkness clouds the hero's face while he witnesses the scene. Yo's fist crashes into the sisters, launching them through the air. Fury twists his features as he bellows, vowing they will pay dearly for what they've done to his friends. Yosei, gasping for breath, braces himself as the hero readies a storm of energy for a relentless attack. The twin sisters mirror each other, slipping into precise stances, determination hardening their gaze. Restore watches, fascinated, as the young man expertly combines the Knight class's spatial compression with an assassin's dual-blade mastery, noting that these techniques represent the pinnacle of their respective disciplines. The girl exclaims in disbelief, "There's no way anyone could achieve skills of such an extraordinary level." Reister narrows her eyes and demands to know Joss's identity. Without waiting for a response, Joss urges her to stay silent. Then, in a flash, lunges forward, launching a swift assault. With a fierce shout, Fillard lunges forward, hand outstretched in a desperate attempt to seize him. At the same moment, the man calls out, urging the hero to hold back and resist the urge to charge ahead. Drawing closer to Reister, Yos manipulates space itself, unleashing an unseen strike. In an instant, he hurtles toward Gilthea, his unique ability shimmering into play once more. Leaping from girl to girl, he weaves through the air using space compression. His blurring, impossible speed leaves the sisters frenzied. None can touch him, fury burning in their eyes as he escapes their grasp. With both swords flashing, Strikes lunges at Frister from behind. A startled scream tears from her lips. With trembling voice, the young man confesses that this strike came from Isha. Racked with guilt, haunted by screams and terror, his thoughts whirl anxiously around his sister's fate. Yos swiftly slashes at the girl with both swords, declaring the strike bears the force of Yao Kolomoka, then leaps away to land lightly on the earth, distancing himself from the heat of battle. Launching himself skyward in a powerful leap, the young man lashes out with twin blades, unleashing a furious barrage upon the twin sisters. Declaring the assault a direct message from himself to his adversaries, he triggers a swirling cloud of dust that surges skyward. Reister's rage ignites, fury blazing in his eyes. The girl instantly spots disheveled, tattered Yos. The hero is stunned, hardly believing his eyes. Determined, Rice warns Yos not to harm them again, while nearby, an annoyed Gilthea sighs at the situation. In this realm, only when an attack's strength surpasses its target's defenses can any harm be inflicted. Yet the hero refuses to accept such a rigid law as truth. Eyes blazing with anger, Raster lashes out at Joss, accusing him and his mischievous cat of frightening her nearly to death. Meanwhile, Misha remains focused, carefully administering a shimmering elixir to help Miyakalamok recover from her wounds. The girl eyed the hero skeptically, questioning how he rose so high just by blindly leveling up. In a sharp tone, she warned him to listen closely, as she was about to reveal the real secret to gaining levels in this world. Terror freezes Yosis, confusion clouding his eyes as her words go right over his head. Amused, the girl delights in the innocent fear painted across his face. Ristar fixes the young adventurer with a piercing gaze and demands, "Are you prepared to face death?" In a flash, his blades reach out, gleaming with menace, leaving Yos cornered with no escape. The hero instinctively raises a hand to shield his face from the girl's blades, bracing for impact. Suddenly, an axe flashes between them, deflecting the attack with a clash, the sharp ring of steel echoing in the air. Filler quickly intercepted Reister's attack, protecting those behind him. He nodded approvingly to Joss, praising her. "You did well. I saw your true strength today." She stared at him, eyes wide with astonishment. With his blade barring the way, the seasoned adventurer reassures the young man. "There's no shame to be found here. Yos's strength is undeniable." Filler's face lights up with a warm smile as he cheerfully proclaims that his strength now surpasses even that of his younger days. Filled with anticipation, he eagerly awaits the day when the young hero amasses even greater skill and experience. Regret flickers in the adventurer's eyes as he confesses how, in days gone by, he too turned a blind eye to hard-won wisdom. The young man opens his mouth to protest, only to find that words fail him. Memories of chasing elusive monsters flicker through Filler's mind, yet today fate pits him against far darker foes. Gripping his sword with unwavering resolve, he prepares to face this new threat. Leaning close to Yosu with a sly grin, the man reveals the sisters are Chamber of Commerce agents and a rank adventurers. They respond with knowing smirks and eyes glittering with confidence. Fillard says the Chamber of Commerce seems respectable, selling weapons and aiding adventurers, but secretly hires assassins, traffics forbidden goods, and will murder or blackmail without hesitation to achieve its ruthless goals.